think the solution is going to be the state legislature, which hopefully will eliminate primary production, will also allow us to give tax credits for people who put them on top of buildings. So I'm hoping.
Ready? Hey, Todd. You ready?
I did that for you.
Good afternoon. If we could call this work session to order. And if the council members could turn to page 1, I'll call it Will Anderson, Director of Economic and Workforce Development. Page 1, Bill 96-18. And good afternoon, Mr. Anderson. One of Catonsville's finest. It's good to see you.
Hey, congratulations to you, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
Council members, it's again page 1, Bill 96-18.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. This bill is our national health emergency grant for opioid, part of the opioid crisis that's being dealt with across the country and in Maryland and here in the county. So we're requesting a supplemental appropriation to receive this grant that we've pursued through the state. It's $100,000, and what it allows us to do is to put a specialist, a job developer, on providing career services to up to 16 individuals for an extended period of time to help them find employment. And it's really an important piece to a very complicated and much larger project. Dr. Branch and our health partners have been bringing opioid legislation pieces to you for a long time, and we're just now getting to this part where we can see to the employment side of it. So as the state was deciding to put this money out there, and we all decided to try to set up these services, this is a small scale, I think, but it's a worthy effort to be trying to do here in the county.
Any questions or comments from the members? All right, seeing none, why don't we turn to page 29, Resolution 6-19. Page 29.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, this resolution is in support of a conditional loan with Gotham Greens, and you'll remember earlier this year we announced really an exciting project down at Trade Point Atlantic. We helped bring in Gotham Greens, which is an urban agricultural company that's already doing business in Manhattan and in Chicago with an innovative model where they can do very modern farming in very difficult industrial sites, and certainly, Councilman Crandall, we have one at Trade Point Atlantic. What this allows us to do is for the state to bring in $180,000 through the Maryland Economic Development Fund, which we'll be matching our portion of. That'll come through the 7-day notice. But it's a great company. If you don't remember the coverage that we did earlier in the year, it's hydroponic, it's super efficient. They're going to be hiring up to 60 new people and getting underway very shortly.
Questions or comments, Council? Councilman Crandall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The hits just keep on coming, which is good, right? Can you talk about, we just did, the infrastructure deal with Trade Point Atlantic, and I think one of the concerns that was expressed by several members of the council was the mix of jobs that are already at Trade Point and what we can expect in the future. Can you talk a little bit about what kinds of jobs these 60 jobs are
Sure.
at Gotham Greens?
Yeah, and it's a good point. It is tied into the infrastructure commitment that we made. This is up on the northern part of the peninsula, which doesn't have all of the water sewer roads that needs to come. It's part of the package that you all just delivered in December. So thank you again for that. The kind of jobs that are coming here and that we've seen them do in New York, small number in 60 to begin with, but it actually covers a pretty broad skill set. Many of them are going to be what you would associate with farming and greenhouse and processing, but there's equipment and packaging. There's some technical jobs in that regard. There's office jobs, and there is some marketing jobs in their front office. So it's a nice little mix in a very interesting company that is completely different from any other tenant that we've gotten out at Trade Point.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All righty, why don't we do page 32, Resolution 7-19, page 32.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. This is Paul Frederick. Again, this was a deal that we announced earlier in the year where we landed a new headquarters company from Pennsylvania. At the time we talked about it in the summer, we didn't have a location. Now we do. We've got them located up in Sparks, Councilman Ketch, up on, let me find the address here, I should know by now, up on Ridgebrook Road. And we went up and visited them recently to see how their move is going. They're moving apace. They're going to move 70 people into that location and probably be expanding quickly thereafter. About 60 new jobs are coming. Many of the folks from Pennsylvania did not come down. So what we're asking for here is to allow the $210,000 MEDAF from the state to come in, and then our matching grant of matching conditional loan if they meet the regulation of the job number. It will be $50,000. That'll come through the 7-day grant process.
Any questions or comments from the members? Everybody good? All right, let's go to page 35, Resolution 8-19. Page 35.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to keep up with your pace. You're really moving along here. This is great. This is another Trade Point Atlantic project. This is Purdue, and again, another healthy application. Purdue is trying to increase their production of organic grain-fed chickens, and what they're doing at Trade Point is really opening up this grain operation here. They're going to be making quite an investment of $30 million. Smaller number of jobs because it's about 25 jobs. But it's a marquee company in Maryland and the United States making an investment at Trade Point Atlantic. So what we're asking for today is support of the conditional loan of $350,000 coming from Maryland Department of Economic Development. And again, our conditional match will be coming along later in a 7-day grant.
Any questions, Councilman
Mr. Chair, I feel compelled to chime in. First, I'd just like to say that it's amazing to see the progress that is happening at Trade Point Atlantic. And one of the things that was said in December when we were doing the infrastructure deal was that this will be the most important economic development that this council will leave as its legacy. And we're seeing the fruits of that with more public support for the build-out down there, and to attract a company like Purdue to the area is a big accomplishment. So we've just gone through testimony regarding 3 conditional loans. Can you describe what some of those conditions are?
Sure. I mean, they tend to be centered around 2 things. One is meeting a certain job number, like what we have in several of these, and the other is a capital investment, hitting a certain investment number. And generally, we tie to the jobs, and if those jobs come up short at the end of the period, it's prorated, and the amount of commitment is backed off from there. So if the company doesn't meet their employment numbers, and they often set them at a number that are conservative. We think they're going to hit and exceed. There have been clawbacks in the past in the county and in other parts of the state if they don't hit the employment numbers. So that's generally what they're pegged to.
Okay, thank you. I'm also pleased to hear about Paul Frederick, because I know that there are several of us here on the council who really need a wardrobe update.
Right. All right.
Not mentioning any names.
I think Paul Frederick is a company worth watching. If you look at the people that are running Paul Frederick, these are the folks that ran Joe Banks and built that business up. Paul Frederick's been around for a while in the airplane magazines, and I think having seen what they're building out in a style business there, they're going to take off. So maybe council wants to go visit and start picking out some wardrobe up in Sparks.
There you go. Any other questions or comments on Resolution 8-19? Everybody good? All righty. Well, thank you for being here today, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along, why don't we call up our favorite Director of Public Works, Steve Walsh, page 22. Page 22, Steve Walsh. Our favorite and only director. Thank you for your job and your crew's job with the recent snow.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, good afternoon. The administration is requesting approval of a budget appropriation transfer totaling $8,824,984 for the always important and requested roadway resurfacing throughout the county. The funding comes from projects within our current budget. Storm drain account, $949,504. Streets and highways account, $3,251,688. And bridge culverts and grade separations account, $4,623,792. And just for point of clarity, when we do capital projects, we receive low bids and we add contingencies to that amount and inspection fees, and that money is tied up for a project as it moves forward. When it's complete, most of the time there's remaining money because we don't spend all the contingencies or all the inspection money. So the majority of the money you see is from those projects that are completed. There are some projects on that list in your package that we just don't need the construction money yet, so it can take many years to deliver a bridge project, for instance, and due to environmental concerns, sometimes right away is a little difficult to obtain. So it's a mixture of projects that are completed and projects that we don't need the construction money today. So,
Councilman Patuka?
Thank you, Mr. Walsh, and thank you for the great job this weekend during the snowstorm. Just one question on projects that may be in design. So I understand like the bridge projects. That if they're in design, are we creating an opportunity cost that we may not have the funds available for when it's ready for construction because we're using them now for resurfacing streets?
I don't think so. I mean, it's always a little bit of a game of moving money around as projects work through the design process. So,
so if it's in the capital program, design 1 year, construction the next year, is it that the design is drawing out over a 2-year period or a 3-year period?
Usually the money, when we do a project, there's a design fee associated with that project. So we'll pull the money out of the project for the design, start the design, and sometimes it takes more than 1 year absolutely to do a project, depending on the complexity of it. So we won't need construction money until we're ready to go. So,
gotcha. And so, but what I'm thinking about is the out year. So when Mr. Mayhew does the capital budget, that he's looking at that out year, where we may not have sufficient construction funds.
Yeah, we try to make sure we have those construction funds. Once again, it's a little bit of a shell game. There's a lot of projects in the design queue, and we move money around where the needs most present themselves. So,
Thank you.
The only other thing I'd like to add, just for point of clarity, is when we do road resurfacing, we also are required to redo the ADA ramps along the road edges too. So that's something that we do in addition to the road resurfacing.
Councilman Marks?
I hate to bring this up, but you're the Public Works Director, and I've said this several times, and I look at this list of projects. Is serious consideration being given to the Joppa Road resurfacing, particularly in Perry Hall, in that area?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's an active,
It's not on this list broken down.
there's an active construction project going on out there.
But
So,
it's done. The water project near Seven Forks Drive is done.
yeah, we're developing the spring and summer 2019 resurfacing list, and Joppa Road will be treated like all the rest of the roads in the county.
Well, it's just, I look at the projects that are broken down, I can't find anything in the Northeast. Nothing.
What list are you looking at? This is the list of the projects that we took the money from. That we took the money from.
Oh, the money from, okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay, there you go. I know, I should be paying attention.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, thank you.
Ca-
There you go.
Councilman Crandall?
The-
Councilman Crandall?
No, I think Mr. Walsh just
Thank you.
answered my question. I guess, can you explain a little bit, as we're looking at this list, and now that we understand that this is
Comes from that.
money taken from these projects and put
There you go.
elsewhere. So it looks like some of them, the group name is streets and highways, subdivisions, another category is street rehabilitation. And then there are some specific roads mentioned as well. So can you explain why some of them seem to be bulked together in streets and highways, alley reconstruction, and then other specific roads are called out?
Yeah, there is more detail that we can provide the council, and I thought it made its way to you, but I guess it didn't. Within the capital budget, there are bulk categories and there are unique projects. So, for instance, the storm drain repairs and enhancement is a bulk category project. There are numerous projects within that bulk category that got closed. So we need to provide you the additional detail of the specific projects within the bulk category that got closed as well.
Okay.
And we'll do so.
Yeah, I think we'd all be interested in seeing that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Also, just to clarify road resurfacing, the administration and I will be talking to council relatively soon about resurfacing.
And thank you for those discussions, absolutely.
Other questions or comments for Mr. Walsh? Everybody good? All righty, thank you.
Steve.
Appreciate it. And why don't we turn to the addendum that's separate from the packet? We'll call up Rob O'Connor, Director, Office of Information Technology, and it's the addendum number 5 to the contract for Tyler Technologies. And good afternoon, Mr. O'Connor.
Good afternoon, Chairman. The Office of Information Technology and the Office of Budget and Finance are requesting an extension of the Tyler Technologies contract until 2025 with a cap increase of $782,445 to cover annual maintenance costs. The current system, Oasis, which resides on our mainframe, will be replaced with a new system. The county currently has extended an RFP in which we have 3 respondents that are being reviewed. Once they are reviewed and one is selected and contract has been completed, it'll take about 2 years to implement a new tax system.
Questions or comments for Mr. O'Connor? Everybody good? Nice and easy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, moving right along, if we could call up Jeff Mayhew, also on the addendum, and this would be for Murphy and Dittenhafer On-Call Architectural Services. And good afternoon, Mr. Mayhew.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, we're asking that you approve a contract with Murphy and Dittenhafer for on-call architectural services. These services are used as part of the tool for the Commercial Revitalization District program. These services focus on the exterior of small business owners' properties and it's designed to give the property owner a vision of what could happen what their property or building would look like if they did some renovations. So we give them a graphic picture and some architectural costs associated with those suggested improvements. As part of the tool of the whole package, successful businesses that you might be familiar with went through this program. Charles Village Pub here in Towson, Monaghan's Pub over in Woodlawn, and Restaurant Forenzi up in Reisterstown are a couple examples of businesses that took advantage of this and ultimately reinvested in the commercial revitalization district. This contract is a 1-year with 4-year renewal periods, and that's what we're asking you to approve.
Questions or comments for Mr. Mayhew? Councilman Katz?
Yes, Jeff, if a company or someone is proposing additions to their building or changes, don't the architects provide this?
It's a method we promote in the revitalization district to encourage property owners to reinvest. So sometimes they don't have that vision of what their building would look like, so the architects do a schematic of their building with new windows, new facades, new awnings, to give them a visual presentation of what that reinvestment might look like. Then it's incumbent upon the property owner to, if they want to go forward, either hire their own architect, or sometimes they hire the architect on call because they like what they see.
So it's a situation where you may go to a revitalization area and pick a business and decide that it would look better if A, B, C, D was done to it. Is that what's I'm confused.
It's part of the whole revitalization program, commercial revitalization program. So we don't single out a property. We usually work with the chambers and promote through the Chamber of Commerce's that this service is one that we provide to help that district and that the chamber and its members thrive. So it's not like we're picking out a building and say, hey, you need to shape up. We're doing it as a promotion to encourage reinvestment.
Okay, so you work for the Chambers of Commerce and they come to you and for assistance.
We go to the Chambers of Commerce and ask them to promote to their members that part of the county's revitalization program has this tool that we try to encourage them to take advantage of.
How much do we spend each year on this?
Roughly, we spend between $5,000 and $10,000 a year, depending on the demand from the property owners.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Patoka?
Thank you, Mr. Mayhew. And Forenzi's is in Reisterstown.
Correct.
Is that correct? So if Forenzi's is an example of how this program works, I think it's a very solid program because Forenzi's a great restaurant in the 2nd District. It's the core of the Reisterstown Commercial District. It's got great food. So thank you for mentioning Forenzi's and anybody in the audience. I recommend you go out to Forenzi's in the beautiful 2nd District of Baltimore County.
Councilwoman Bevins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is something that actually my office works with all the business associations, making sure that they know that we have these programs available, especially on the Hartford Road and Blair Road corridor, where we have a lot of aging buildings, and that they can spruce up their fronts or signage or landscaping. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for small businesses to be able to improve their properties at a very low cost. So thank you for making it available.
Thank you.
Councilman Marks?
Yeah, I will echo all the comments that have been made. And you simply look at the Perry Hall Animal Hospital, which benefited from this program. I mean, a lot of these small businesses don't want to have to take out loans later on if these preliminary blueprints show that they can't make their projects happen. And I think this is really good seed money for a lot of those smaller businesses. This is a terrific program that has been well used, and I thank the staff for all the assistance they've given all of us on this.
Any other questions or comments from the council? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Mayhew. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, if the council could turn to page 4, we'll do Bill 97-18. If we could call Laura Riley from the Department of Aging. Page 4, Bill 97-18. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of federal funds totaling $48,703 to the Caregiver Support Gifts and Grants Program. The funds will be used to provide additional support and assistance to family members and other adults who provide unpaid care for seniors 16 over and disabled county residents. So it's additional federal funds that were passed our way.
Any questions or comments from the council? All righty, why don't we do page 7, Bill 98-18.
Thank you. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of federal funds totaling $100,000 for the Aging and Disability Resource Center Gifts and Grants Program. The program, also known as Maryland Access Point, provides information and assistance to county adults over the age of 60, disabled individuals over the age of 18, and their families and caregivers. We'll be using those funds to support a staff person who will do additional outreach services.
Questions or comments? All righty, thank you, Ms. Riley. Appreciate it. All right, why don't we move to page 10, Bill 99-18 with Kevin Reed, Department of Health and Human Services. Good afternoon, Mr. Reed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and council members. Bill 9918 is a request for a supplemental appropriation of federal funds from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the amount of $109,367 to the new Enhanced Hepatitis C virus program. This funding will be used to support the salary and fringe benefits of 5 part-time workers who will be involved in investigating acute and chronic hepatitis C cases, collecting risk information, and making sure that cases are prioritized with their medical provider. The goal is to get an enhanced profile of individuals living with Hep C in Baltimore County. And I think the auditors had a question about trends in 2018 calendar year. We had 7,406 reported cases to the health department of hepatitis C. That is slightly down from 2017, but up from where we were 5 to 8 years ago. So those are the kind of things we're diving into the numbers to see who's getting it and why.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Reed? All righty, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, when we call up Amy Grassi, council could turn to page 26, fiscal matter 4. Good afternoon, Ms. Grassi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. The administration is requesting approval of a contract to acquire a drainage and utility easement of approximately .049 acres for $7,431 to relocate a 16-inch water transmission main in the bed of Washington Boulevard as part of a road widening project of SHA. Through the area of Washington Boulevard that crosses over the CSX railroad tracks. The acquisition is proposed for the appraised value from Diageo North America.
Any questions or comments? Thank you for your work, Ms. Grassi.
Thank you.
All right, why don't the council turn to page 38. Ask Councilman Marks on resolution 9-19, page 38.
Thank you very much. This resolution amends the Overlea Commercial Revitalization District, proposes to add an area to the northeast of the existing district that lies within the 5th Council District. One of the properties that will be included in this area has already told me that they're willing to make space in this the proposed building for community meetings and a potential police substation.
Are there any questions or comments for Councilman Marks on Resolution 9-19? We just have one real easy one. Councilman Marks, has planning weighed in on this at all, or?
Well, I've talked to the administration. I haven't heard any discussion from them. I'm happy to talk to planning about it, though.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Councilman Marks? All right, why don't we turn to page 40, Resolution 10-19, Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. Resolution 1019 amends the Perry Hall Community Plan to address the Northeast Trail. The Northeast Trail is a proposed hiker-biker network that will extend from Indian Rock Park next to Perry Hall High School to Linover Park in Overly. Large sections of the trail have already been built. If you drive along Perry Hall Boulevard in South Perry Hall, you'll see where a builder actually laid the groundwork for this. What this resolution does is it specifies that in the event a development occurs in the more traditional boundaries of Perry Hall, that an alignment of the trail will be placed next to the development.
Any questions or comments? And Mr. Boswick, when we have public speakers, just, okay. All right, all righty. So that was Resolution 10-19. And now why don't we go to, let's see, page 21. That's Bill 104-18. That's page 21. And that is Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This here is a very technical zoning regulation change. It has, by design, been written in a way that would be as narrow as I can in an effort to get a property from its dilapidated stage that has been that way for 10 or 12 years on the, get it back to the tax rolls to a point where it'll be conducive to the county and also to the citizens in that community. So this is a technical change to a particular property on Ricerstown Road. It is the Frank's Nursery and Craft. It's been vacant for 10 years. And in my short period here in the council, in 4 years, I've seen the property go through many, many proposals. And we've changed zoning in the past to fit some of those proposals, including the last comprehensive zoning process. All of those things have fallen short, and it's been very frustrating looking at this big eyesore in Ricerstown Road. So that's the purpose of this bill, sir.
Any questions or comments for Councilman Jones?
Yeah.
Councilman Katz?
Yes, I just have a question.
Sure.
What is the zoning classification CCC?
Let me see, then urban demarcation line. It is, let me see, I have to double check.
Mr. Boswick?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's community something core.
Right.
I apologize, Mr. Chair. That's it.
Commercial community.
Says the man from OIT.
That's right.
Right.
We'll go with it.
Show off.
Thank you.
Is that seconded by Mr. Mayhew? All right, there you go. That's right. All right, thank you. Thank you. Other questions for Councilman Jones on the fuel service stations? Councilman Crandall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to bring up publicly, sometimes these bills that we do to facilitate a business coming into an older commercial property, sometimes they actually work. And we just worked with Mr. Anderson's office and Rick Johnson, our representative from there, to set up a job fair for a company that will be coming into an old empty Best Buy on Pulaski Highway. And this company is going to hire 100 people, and it's due to the legislation that you all supported and you all voted for. So, these bills, although seemingly technical and can seem mundane in nature, they really can have a positive effect on our communities.
Thank you.
Councilman Patoka?
Councilman Jones, as you're aware, that the former Frank's impacts both the 4th District and the 2nd District. And this change helps get an operator in that building, then all speed ahead, because like you said, it's been vacant for many years. It's been an eyesore for many years. It impacts the whole Owings Mills area and beyond. So keep me posted, and let's work together on this.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, comments? All righty. Then why don't we turn to page 16, Bill 101-18, Councilman Marks, social host, unruly social gatherings.
Thank you very much. The social host ordinance has been a very helpful tool in reducing unruly disturbances near Towson University and the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Violations of this law carry certain penalties, including a tiered system of monetary penalties and the imposition of community service. Bill 101-18 requires that any community service ordered and assigned for a violation of this law be performed within 2 miles of the location of the unruly social gathering. In my mind, offenders can give directly back to the neighbors they impact.
Great. Any other questions or comments for Councilman Marks on this? You know, I remember when Councilman Marks first proposed this, and there was some controversy, but I think it's really turned out well for the neighborhood, and it's a lot of positive comments. And so, Mr. Secretary, you can add my name on it. And then I know we do have one public speaker. Just want to make sure everybody's good. All right, why don't we call up our public speaker for up to 2 minutes, Mr. Paul Hartman. You want to come on up? We all know Mr. Hartman, except maybe Councilman Patoka. So this is Paul Hartman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hartman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members. Paul Hartman, I live here in Towson. I'm speaking on behalf of the Towson Communities Alliance, formerly known as GTCCA, an umbrella group representing 30 communities in Towson, and also my community, Agworth Manor Association. And I do want to thank Councilman Marks and the council for passing the social host ordinance. It's gotten some national attention as a positive measure. I was invited last April to speak at a National Alcohol Policy Conference in Arlington about this. And what's unique about our legislation is that there's a component in there for the landlord to get them to control their tenants. And that seems to be something that other social host ordinances around the country have not yet had. So it had a lot of interest there. But speaking about this particular amendment or addition to the ordinance, we think it would be very beneficial to have the community service hours performed nearby, and it would benefit the community, as Councilman Marks said, the community that was where the offense occurred. So I encourage you to vote for this measure.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hartman.
Thank you, Paul, you really were a champion of this, and thank you for everything you did.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hartman. All righty. Why doesn't County Council turn to page 20, Bill 103-18, Councilman Marks, speed monitoring systems.
Thank you very much. Bill 103-18 specifies that a portion of the revenues generated from speed monitoring systems be allocated in the county budget as follows. 25% of the revenues will be allocated for traffic safety, including traffic calming devices, road safety improvements, and the installation of radar speed signs. Of this 25%, 1/2 of those funds will be utilized in school zones until the Department of Public Works has ascertained that traffic safety improvements have been made in all school zones. The bill also requires that improvements in the school zones be made in a manner that is equitable across all 7 council districts. I am in discussions with the administration about this legislation. There's, I think, a very good possibility this will be done administratively, and if that's the case, would possibly withdraw the bill. So I appreciate that dialogue that's now occurring, and I thank the county executive and staff for helping me with this.
Councilwoman Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Marks, I'm sorry, I had one question. I guess I could have asked you earlier. Is this in addition to, there has recently been $800,000 allotted for traffic calming up until last year and again this year. Will this be in addition to that or in place of? Because 25% of the annual, I think they took in over $5 million, so about $1.3 million, which is several hundred thousand over what was already on that line item for traffic calming.
Well, my discussions with the officials within the Department of Public Works, they tell me that that program is largely exhausted.
Okay.
So this would be a way of capturing the revenue that come from from speed
So it is in
monitoring
place of
systems.
it?
Yes.
Okay.
It would help replenish that fund, which I think has been exhausted.
Okay. I hadn't heard that, so that was my question. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Other questions or comments for Councilman Marks? I would just say I really do like the philosophy behind it. You know, I think money generated from speed cameras really makes a lot of sense. I mean, I understand, you know, the need for police body cameras, but I also understand that one of our most common concerns and issues we get from real-life constituents every day, and I mean every single day, is what can we do to slow down traffic? I'm concerned about pedestrian bicycle safety. I mean, this is something that is exceptionally, I'd say one of my top 3 or 4 things I hear from consistently. So I really do like the philosophy behind it, and I'm hopeful that the administration hears this concern and we can work this maybe non-legislatively and move forward. So no, I really do like the thoughts behind it. Any other questions or comments from the council? I know we do have one speaker, Mr. Paul Hartman, coming back up. So, Mr. Hartman, it's good to see you back up here. Are you doing solar after this, Mr. Hartman?
Yes. Thank you again. I'll be brief. Again, I'm representing Towson Communities Alliance and the Agworth Manor Association, and we encourage you to vote for this measure. If it can't be worked out administratively, that would be great. We've noticed that the crosswalks that were installed in the area, like Burke Avenue, for example, that have those brick pavers, make them really stand out. It's obvious where the pedestrian should cross. It's obvious to the drivers that there's a crosswalk there. And some of the ones that have just the painted lines are pretty much erased, and you can't even tell that that is supposed to be a crosswalk. So that's just one example of improvements that we feel would be very beneficial to safety, not only of pedestrians, but the drivers themselves. So I encourage you to vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Any other thoughts, comments before we go on to bed and breakfast inns? All right, if the council could turn to page 13, Bill 100-18, Councilman Crandall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think it would be best for me just to talk about how we came upon doing legislation to change regulations regarding bed and breakfast. I had a constituent interested in purchasing a building, and she had a hard time deciphering the county code on how you go about and get a bed and breakfast done, get a bed and breakfast approved in Baltimore County. So she solicited our help in figuring that out, and much to my surprise, that a bed and breakfast in Baltimore County not only has a lot of restrictions on where they can go and what requirements the land has, is that you would have to go through a planned unit development process, or a PUD, in order to get a bed and breakfast permitted. So what the bill does is it makes it the review process, it makes it a public process should the public want to get involved, but it also makes it much like getting a permit for a boarding house or other things, where you go through departmental review, a public hearing if there's one requested, but you don't have to go through a lengthy and costly planned unit development process. So I thought this was a way to change policy to help promote tourism in Baltimore County. There has been concern voiced by Councilman Catch and some others as to some of the details in the bill, and one of them is that a bed and breakfast like the ones we're talking about would be allowed with anywhere from 4 rooms to a maximum of 20 rooms in an RC zone. And Councilman Catch and I agree that we need to limit that, because we know the concerns of neighborhoods about creating little mini hotels as opposed to a 4 or 5 room bed and breakfast. So I also found, in searching for a bed and breakfast for my wife and I to have a weekend just after the election, it was really hard, in fact almost impossible, to find one in Baltimore County. So we ended up in Howard County and had a nice weekend. But I think because of the process is so cumbersome, and because of some of the restrictive nature surrounding the current code, That's why Baltimore County simply doesn't have this as an amenity to not only offer our own citizens, but people that would like to come and enjoy our waterfront or enjoy some other tourism opportunities in the area. So I'd appreciate my colleagues' support on this. Councilwoman Bevins has offered a suggestion that I think we need to take a look at, which is taking the time that the property would be posted for public notice from 15 days, take it to 30 days, giving the public more time to look into the, just to be aware of the project and look into whether community groups or individuals want to ask for that public hearing that I mentioned before. So I think it's a work in progress to some extent, and I'll be working over the next week with Councilman Catch on those compromises, and hopefully we can get a bed and breakfast somewhere in the 7th District, at the very least.
Questions or comments from the council? I mean, I would just say, I mean, I bought a house in Oella, and it was built a long time ago, and the owner before me wanted to put a bed and breakfast there, but then got so frustrated by the process, finally just walked away. Because plan unit developments, they are really expensive to go through, and normally plan unit developments are for really big projects, where there's a lot of economies of scale. So has the Department of Planning or has the administration also looked at this? Do they have any suggestions or?
Mr. Mayhew's predecessor was aware that I was looking at the legislation, but I haven't had conversations with the Department of Planning on this. Many conversations with our good secretary, Mr. Bostwick, of course. There is a long history of changes in the code regarding bed and breakfasts, I guess, Mr. Secretary, dating back to the 1950s, really.
That's correct. Everyone is probably aware of the Gramercy, which is on Greenspring, I believe, near where Village Uli College or Stevenson now is or used to be, and that was one of the first bed and breakfasts we had, and its zoning history goes back to the 1950s, and prior to, and then I think in Bill 113-88, the county council passed legislation to create what is actually similar to what you are seeking to create now. You could have a bed and breakfast by use permit and went through that process. In 2005, the bed and breakfast process was moved into Section 430 of the zoning regulations as part of a PUD if you wanted to do a bed and breakfast. So understandably, there have been very few and far between since then, and this bill, as you indicated, would move it out of the PUD process again and allow it to be permitted by use permit.
Thank you.
And Councilman Colonel, just curious, just on when we were drafting this legislation with you and our secretary, do we look at other counties and things to kind of look at how they were doing it as well, or best practices from other jurisdictions? Or
we did not, to be honest with you. We looked at what had been done before, and we also in the county, and what was also analogous to or similar to a bed and breakfast, i.e. boarding house or rooming house, and found that would be sufficient. But we can certainly look at other jurisdictions as well.
So, I like the idea. I do, and I just want to make, I know nothing about the details of bed and breakfast, but I know you guys have looked at this a lot. And so, do we have any public speakers on this?
No, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Couch?
Just very quickly, I've been working with the Councilman Crandall on this issue, and just to let my constituents or the audience know, we've been talking in terms of 5 or 6 bedrooms, so nowhere near 20. And so we'll keep working on this, and I appreciate your willingness to...
Sure, and if the Department of Planning, Mr. Mayhew, you'd like to look at the legislation, weigh in, we're open to compromise, we're open to discussion on this. My whole goal was really to move, especially limited to a small number of rooms, just move the process out of the PUD process and make it a little bit easier for someone to open one of these establishments up.
And so, if possible, some of these amendments from Councilwoman Bevins and Councilman Catch, the sooner we can do them and put them up on the site so people that might have an interest can also look at them before the legislative, I think that would be great. Any other comments or questions for Councilman Crandall? Everybody good? All righty. So moving along, our last order of business today is on page 17. It's Bill 102-18, and it's for solar facilities. Councilman Katz.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill 102-18 is legislation that would impose a moratorium on solar, commercial solar in RC zones. There's been a lot of misinformation going around that this bill would somehow stop all commercial solar in Baltimore County. It does not, simply in RC zones. This legislation is introduced on behalf of many of my constituents who came to me concerned about the decrease in the number of farms in northern Baltimore County and the decrease in the land that is in agriculture. From 2007 to 2012, there was a decrease in farms of 15%. The amount of land in agriculture, there was a decrease of 10%. So we have what I think is a problem developing. We all support clean energy. There's no question about that. But we also support, we need to sustain agriculture in Baltimore County. Absolutely. We cannot depend on getting food from other areas. We're going to have a population that's going to increase, and there's no doubt that we need strong agriculture in Baltimore County. Since the passage of the solar bill, June 5th, 2017, almost all of this proposed commercial solar has been in the 3rd District. And almost 200 acres is proposed to go into solar. That added to, I'm sure there's other acres that are being taken out of agriculture as well. And so we have a problem that needs to be addressed. And it's interesting, since the passage of the solar bill, our surrounding counties that are served by Baltimore Gas and Electric, namely Carroll, Hartford, and Anne Arundel, do not allow commercial solar on rural conservation land. So because of that, there's a land rush in Baltimore County. The legislation that passed allows 10 commercial solar projects in each councilmatic district. There has been no proposal for commercial solar on the roof of factories, the roofs of commercial areas, parking lots, none whatsoever. It's all targeted to rural conservation land. And so that is really the reason for this. Now, there's no protection for prime and productive land in the current legislation. There is no protection for our scenic highways, our streams and reservoirs. Solar panels are a hazard to our streams and a hazard to our reservoirs because they do have chemicals that when there is rain, the chemicals are loosened from the solar panels, and they do go into the streams and reservoirs in Baltimore County. 2 million people drink the water that comes from northern Baltimore County. I'd just like everyone to know that our reservoirs in Baltimore County have been cited by the federal government for having high amounts of nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment. And as a county, as a state, we need to get a hold of that problem. When the solar bill passed on June 5th, 2017, part of that bill called for a study of the current solar projects. The study was done, and the results were released in July of 2018. And these recommendations were sent to the county council and county executive. Now, you all know that that was election year, so election summer, so actually not much happened. But if you read the recommendations from the planning board, they're substantial. And they recommend, first of all, that solar facilities should not be permitted on prime and productive soils. Secondly, solar facilities should be directed into business and manufacturing zones, brownfields, rooftops, and parking lots. The feasibility of establishing locational criteria to determine appropriate siting of solar facilities should be investigated. That's not been done. And solar facilities should not be detrimental to scenic views or routes. Now, these are the recommendations of our planning board, and we, as a council, did not act upon it. So the study is two things. First of all, it's a study of renewable energy, what strategy this county has. And secondly, it deals with the solar, that we can have a thorough study of the issue and make recommendations to the county council. Now, one thing that I'm going to suggest that the study committee include 2 members of the county council, because I think that would be productive in that the 2 members of the county council who are part of the study would be able to report back to the council, and they will have heard the testimony and know the subject backward and forward. So there is a need for this moratorium. We can't afford to devote any more prime and productive land to community solar. One of the things that is very disturbing is in the bill it says that each councilmatic district will have 10 solar facilities. Well, in the District 3, the county has said 13, because there were 3 that were applied for prior to the enactment of the bill. So actually, it's 13 in District 3. This is a very serious matter. This is one that we need to get a hold of right now, because the state legislature is about to increase the amount of clean energy required to 50%. That bill is going to pass. There's no question about it. So we need a strategy as a county in order to determine how we're going to reach these goals. This bill is supported by the county executive. He, during the campaign, was in northern Baltimore County. He's very familiar with the issue and does support this bill. He sees the need to put this on hold so we can study this issue thoroughly as a county. We have not done that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Katz. Is there any questions or comments from the council on this bill? Councilman Mark?
I guess I would just prefer, and I expressed this privately, the council members, I would just prefer to correct the errors that exist in current law. One of the things that I was concerned about when we passed the original legislation was that the county council did not have any ability to stop the county government from allowing private utilities to put solar farms on public parks. And I tried offering an amendment, didn't go through, but that's one of the things that I would like to correct. I just think we should probably just look at the errors in the current law and make those corrections and move forward.
Councilman Patoka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill has got me really conflicted. There are two really important initiatives here. Renewable clean energy, it's the future. I don't think any of us can argue with that. But we also have to look at what we have in front of us. And some of the things, I don't know if the planning department has looked at this, but request that Mr. Mayhew look at this. Look at increasing setback. Look at intensive landscape buffers. I do want to hear what folks are coming here to say, but I have to say that I haven't made my mind up on this because, like I said, I'm conflicted and looking forward to hear what the many people that showed up. And I just want to thank everybody for showing up. It's a really important issue to me as the 2nd District Council member, to my colleagues here. And it's a tough one, but we'll figure it out with input here today.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the council? I know obviously with solar facilities, we've had many work sessions on solar facilities. I've seen many of you here before. I feel like sometimes we have maybe some environmentalists here today that might be very opposed. I think we have some local farmers that might be for. And I think often good government is really trying to figure out if there's a middle ground where we can, like Councilman Mark said, are there things that we can do to improve the existing law and try to balance the different people in this room, many of which probably agree on a lot of things and maybe some disagreement on some parts of this bill too. So any other questions? We have 50-some speakers, but do we have any questions or comments from the council before we get to the public speakers?
Sure.
Councilman Crandall?
Mr. Chair, sure. This is have a constituent that texted me and said that didn't quite expect the polarization that this issue causes, and it certainly does. One of the things that I'm concerned about, that I think as a council we always talk about when we're looking at changing things when things have already moved on, is what projects and what investments would now go through a 9-month stall where the bankers are involved, the companies doing the installation are involved, the landowners are involved, and made all these plans and investments, and then we vote to stop them in their tracks. And 9 months from a business perspective is a long time to wait to get your project back up and running. So that's a concern I have. And then, Councilman Katz, did you say that there have been no rooftop projects on industrial property?
No community solar. Right.
Okay.
That's correct. That is correct.
Okay. The community solar is the distinction there.
Correct.
because one of the projects we're very proud of in the 7th District is the solar project at Amazon, which a local company in Essex is actually doing the installation on, which is kind of a win-win there. So, okay. Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the council? Councilman Jones?
No, I wanted to, weigh in a little bit. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I look forward to hearing the testimony. But I think it is an important issue you brought up, that there are many solar panels on roofs in parking lots. And I look forward to hearing the testimony. It is a very interesting issue because oftentimes when we talk about a lot of these things, sometimes we forget about the property owner, the person who owns the property, and how much of a right should that person have in terms of property that they own compared to what the community may think is necessary. Or we make zoning decisions each and every day, and oftentimes it deals with important issues concerning the public good. And we put things in certain categories. This, in many cases, we are talking about probably aesthetics in terms of people that may not like somebody else having the solar panels. So I look forward to hearing the testimony so we can see, so we can learn additional information on this particular subject.
Thank you. Councilman Patoka, then Councilman Katch.
Councilman Jones, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's what is the community good and what are property owners' rights? And where's the balance? Should we require any setback on any zone? We should, of course, because it's for the community good. And should we allow property owner rights to make modifications? Well, yes, if it's for the community good. And we're conflicted with two things that are for the community good. Clean, renewable energy is for the community good. But we also need to figure out how it works in rural areas, and that's why I'll be in the future looking towards, again, increased setback and intensive landscaping buffers, I'm sorry.
Councilman Katch?
Yes, I just want to say that every single application for community solar in the RC zones that was applied for after June the 5th, 2017, they were aware that they were taking a chance because in the bill that passed, it talks about, in July of 2018, possible changes to the current law. There was a study done by the planning board. They recommended changes to they recommended changes to the current law. So people who applied after June 5th took that chance. So maybe the ones who applied before that date, I can understand why they would be upset because they had no idea. Well, at the time, there was no law at all. So I think there is some room for compromise there. So thank you.
Councilwoman Bevins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Councilman Crandall. We've been very creative in eastern Baltimore County with renewable energy. If you look at CCBC in Essex, they actually made their parking garage rooftops of solar. So they're keeping their cars undercover and providing solar at the same time. Talking from a business perspective, I believe that when people come to Baltimore County to do business, no matter what that business is, they want certainty before they make any type of investment. We cannot continue to pull the rug out from underneath the people after they've been through a process, legislation was in place, and they make their investments, and people start to move on with their lives and their projects. And I just don't think it's fair. So it will be interesting to see what everyone has to say. I do believe in property rights, and if they fall under the category or their zone for renewable energy, I think that it should be allowed. Again, you're talking apples and oranges before a certain date, after a certain date. They had still applied for the process and were going through the process. And I think once they're in the process, they're grandfathered into that process.
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Jones?
I'm just going to make a quick statement. The Community Solar Pilot Program. The Maryland Public Service Commission has adopted regulations for a community solar pilot program in Maryland with an emphasis on providing renewable energy benefits for low and moderate income customers. Community solar customers are expected to see the savings on their electric bill, and the Marylanders will benefit from a more clean energy options. So I think it's important when we start talking about community solar program, we're talking about a very specific portion of all the solar activity that's taking place. We're not talking about people who choose to put solar on their homes. We're not talking about people who choose to put solar perhaps on an existing building or parking lot right now. We're talking about a very specific program. I just wanted to just say that because I've been noticing my colleague, and he's using very things that are very specific in nature. And I just want to make sure that we're not misleading anybody. That's why I wanted to put all of that on the table.
Any other questions or comments? I think perspective-wise as well, in the last county council, the council did change a lot of our laws and our regulations to make solar and the accessibility of solar easier. Now, we recognize with the farmers there's some things still need to be worked out. I think in general, I mean, it's been a pretty pro-solar county council. I mean, the restrictions, even to put solar on people's homes, was exceptionally difficult. And working with the prior county executive administration, we were able to make solar more user-friendly in Baltimore County. Any other questions or comments from the council before we go to the public speakers? Just want to make sure everybody's good. Alrighty, so for the public speaking session, we're going to allow up to 2 minutes to speak since we have many, many speakers that have been waiting patiently. I appreciate all your patience. If a prior speaker has said basically what you're about to say, you can just say, pass or yield your time to the next speaker. So saying that, when I call your name, you just want to come up to the seat up here, and then the person following the speaker can sit close to Laura Bacon. Laura, if you want to just raise your hand so people know where you're at. Alrighty, so let's start. Our first speaker today is Marnie Carroll, followed by Irvin McDaniel. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon, council members. My name's Marnie Carroll. I'm director of One Energy Renewables and Be More Solar. We are opposed to this bill for 3 main reasons. Firstly, this bill initially was consensus-driven with a lot of stakeholder input. The current legislation was a compromise and arrived at this limit of 10 per district. Secondly, as some of the conversation just now indicated, we have 2 projects. We've spent over $200,000 in the development as well as the appeal process, and it is a major change after a major investment. Thirdly, as Councilman Jones indicated, the program allows residents to benefit from clean energy. So I'm holding up here a petition that was signed by 130 Maryland residents who want to see clean energy, and those residents can also benefit from savings off their current electric bill. That is unique to this program. So you'll hear today from many who believe there are negative impacts of solar. Just to address those quickly, solar does not have any sound. There's no impact on traffic with these sites, noise, no visual impacts if they're properly screened, and we do work very positively with the agency and with neighbors to adjust our screening and setbacks. No trees are cut, and there are no impacts to streams. The panels are covered in glass. There are no hazardous materials. and we have to get a stormwater permit. So all of the permits are in place that guarantee there are no impacts to water quality.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate your time. Our next speaker, Irvin McDaniel, followed by Mike Grezin. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. BG has submitted an official position statement. It was headed with favorable with the amendment. We are favorable with the amendment. We understand that the moratorium is controversial and polarizing, and we're neutral when it comes to the moratorium portion of the bill. In Section 2, however, when there's a requirement for the planning board in consultation with other specified stakeholders to conduct a comprehensive study regarding the siting of solar facilities in the RC zone and present the results of the study and recommendations to the council and county executive by August 31st, 2019. That's the area of the bill that is most interesting to us. And we are proposing an amendment to include on page 5, line 6, insert after district a representative from BGE, the electric company. Given BGE's role as the electric distribution company that integrates solar and other renewable and demand-side resources to the electricity grid, BGE subject matter experts may provide an expertise and grid perspective that may not be otherwise reflected in the study. BGE fully supports the integration of solar and other renewable resources to the electricity grid to decarbonize the electric grid and provide the energy services to customers and the ones that they expect from us. As a participant in the study, BGE will work to ensure that Baltimore County has a sustainable energy plan for its residents and for the future. Given these facts, BGE respectfully requests that Bill number 102-18 be amended to allow BGE as Baltimore County's electric utility to participate in and contribute to the study team. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mike Grezin, followed by John Batters.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank the council for the opportunity to comment on this very important issue. My name is Mike Gretchen. I'm a solar project developer with Turning Point Energy. We are opposed to a solar moratorium for a variety of reasons. I guess to start, the original solar bill would have, in theory, allowed up to 70 projects to be built in Baltimore County, 10 per district, as has been noted. Since the bill was passed in the intervening 2 years, industry has identified and submitted for approval somewhere between 15 and 20 total projects. Of those 20 total projects, the agricultural land involved would comprise less than 1% of the total agricultural land in Baltimore County. Speaking specifically to my own company's process, we initially started out by looking at literally thousands of parcels in Baltimore County, and those parcels comprised large commercial sites, commercial rooftops, brownfields, industrial sites, and agricultural land. Of those thousands of parcels, they were gradually eliminated down to the point where we entered into negotiations with about 5 to 10 individual landowners and ultimately wound up proceeding with only about 2 projects. So we have 2 projects here in the county. Those 2 are both on agricultural land. The parcels involved would use a portion of the project of the parcel for solar, and the remainder would be agricultural. So we would have solar and agricultural activities on the same parcel. And these projects would deliver locally produced solar power to local customers, which we think is a good thing. Finally, there are a couple of ag benefits that I don't think are broadly spoken about. The ground underneath and around the solar panels would be planted with grass and pollinator-friendly species, and at the end of life.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Our next speaker, John Batters, and then followed by Lisa Arthur. Is Lisa here? And Lisa, you can come inside the chamber and sit right in the very front by Laura. Good afternoon.
Hello. My name is John Batters. I'm from Whitehall, Maryland, and my family elected me for some reason to come speak today. Our farm is located on the Baltimore and Harford County line with acreage divided on either side. I represent the fourth generation to live and work on this property. As time has gone by, it became financially necessary to rent out acreage to make ends meet. When the opportunity presented itself to be a part of Clean Solar, we became very interested. The chance to move from fossil fuels to renewables should be of interest to us all. The financial boost is also very important to a small farm family. This opportunity will help preserve this property for the next generation and hopefully beyond. The location of the solar field would have very little visual impact on any neighboring property. We have set aside land on the Harford County side of our property to replace the field that would become solar. In my opinion, when it comes to solar energy, the pros far outweigh the cons. The chance to help small family farms and produce clean energy right here at home is a win for us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lisa Alter, followed by William Mayo.
I'm a Northern Baltimore County resident requesting your support for Bill 102-18, which calls for a 9-month moratorium on the development of large solar facilities within all districts. This is necessary so that impacts can be studied and appropriate sitting regulations developed. This is especially important to District 3, whose rural communities are under assault by the solar companies. These companies should have researched and identified well over 31,000 impervious acres within the county that would be viable for such solar projects. They could even utilize non-glass, non-frame, non-bracket panels that can be installed anywhere, even on landfills, to help accomplish this. Yet rural farmland has become their target, and it is because it is the easiest and cheapest way to turn a quick profit. I know this because I've attended numerous Baltimore County Board of Appeal hearings for solar projects in District 3, where the solar companies have testified that they can develop on commercial, industrial, and impervious areas, but it is more expensive. This is because those landowners feel their property is of greater value than what is being offered by the solar companies and do not want to tie up their investments for the proposed 25 to 45-year lease. This is why the companies are now concentrating on District 3 farmland. Also, it should be noted that the lease is what deems these projects as temporary, but the amount of time might as well be the rest of our lives, as it will forever change surrounding landscapes within our communities. It also directly undermines state and county land preservation investments and takes prime and productive soils out of production, which negatively impacts the unique agricultural economy. This moratorium is essential to provide the time needed to gain a better understanding of the issues and how best to mitigate them, so that we can work with the solar companies to accomplish renewable energy goals without sacrificing any natural resources.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is William Mayo, followed by Tony Brown.
Hi, my name is William Mayo, and I live on my family farm that we've lived on since 1762. And we still partially farm today. I'd like to just take a minute to talk about prime productive soils. Two issues here. We have the solar, clean energy, and we have prime productive soils or sustainable farming, which is very important. In the 60s and 70s and 80s, the fertilizer companies and the scientists led us to believe that we could grow crops on any ground. The ground was just a sponge. We could put the nutrients in it, the fertilizers in it, the nitrogen in it, the pesticides on it. We'd grow anything, pretty much like a chia pet. Now we're starting to learn that the prime productive soils are different. They hold the nutrients different. They have bacteria that spread the fertilizer through the soil. It takes less of that to produce a crop. And it holds the nutrients better. We have a problem with Pfiesteria and things like that, with the nutrients running off the property. And the prime productive soils hold those things. They do a better job of it. They can't be replaced. We can't make prime productive soils. But we need clean energy. But we can have clean energy on things other than prime productive soils. We can't grow good crops on ground that's not. Science is proving. We cannot feed the masses on bad ground. We have to keep good, clean property. Prime productive soil is very important. We can have solar energy anywhere. The only reason we don't have it anywhere is because it's not economical. So the government is willing to give out the prime productive, give up the future of this property in order to make money for the solar panels, for the solar companies. I think that I've seen with my own hands the gifts that this good earth gives us, and I think they need to be protected. And there's no reason to give up our prime productive land for solar panels.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tony Brown, followed by Leslie Masick.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your service, and thanks for the time to speak. A few years ago, I entered a program with Constellation Energy where I purchased all of my electricity 100% renewable, right through Constellation Energy. It's more expensive, a little bit more expensive, but I thought it was worth it because of the clean energy. I have geothermal in my home. So it does exist. It's been available for quite some time. It's more expensive because we're talking about something that's 15% efficient at this point. These panels that they place, I've been to many of these different hearings and so forth. So a little reality check, because people stand up with the signs and said, for solar. All of us here in green shirts are for solar. Nobody's here more for solar than us here in the green shirts that farm the land and produce the food. So global warming, climate change is a reality. Do we know what the threat, the main threat to mankind is for global warming? What's the concern? Going to get a little hot, we got to wear a t-shirt instead of a long sleeve shirt. Food production. Why would an intelligent species pick prime and productive soil where we grow our food to try to solve the problem of being concerned about being able to grow enough food to feed our people? Don't take my word for it, look it up. Food security is what the world leaders have called it. Now, it's gotten down to the local level, and it's become lost. Why would we pick this first? God forbid where we have to make that choice. We don't have to make the choice now. We have other choices. We can have both. Our farms, our futures. That's one of our license plates that you can spend a little bit of extra for. These red dots are where the tenant farmers, and 99% of them are tenant farmers, are going to lose their farming ability if this happens. Right around the city center, buy local, buy your food local, you won't be able to.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Leslie Masick, followed by Paul Catcherton.
I am the granddaughter of Elizabeth and Osler Burns. Our family owns a farm that my grandfather started. It's 49 acres. We've had it since 1942, which in April will be 76 years it's been in our family. So at one point we had 4 generations on this farm. I'm a longtime believer of the solar is needed to protect a plant from the fossil fuels burning power plants so our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren have a cleaner planet. We all agree on that. The land is zoned RC4. It is not farmable due to the slope and the gullies throughout the field. The only thing that's ever been harvested on here is hay. There's never been anything else, no other crop on this land. It's not easy for the tractors and everything to go through and just the equipment to do it. The site is not visible from Westminster Pike. I'm in Reisterstown. There's a lot of natural landscaping buffer around the site which blocks the view of the solar, which has been there, like I said, for 76 years. One side they just made commercial, the other side is 4 houses that butt up to our property. Having solar on the property is a lot less noisy and dusty than motorcycles and ATVs, because with all that land, we have a motorcycle track in the back of it that we've all gone through, and we've gone through the councils to have taken jumps down because of the dust and everything else that's going on the neighbors beside us. Having solar installed on the property would be much better for the environment than subdividing it and building houses on it. The income would definitely help my mother and my father, who are in their 80s, with medical bills and household bills that they have acquired through the years. As for myself and being there, like I said, I'm living there with my parents, taking care of my parents, and this would definitely benefit them. There's nothing that can be grown on it. I'm not selling, we're not growing anything to sell at the produce stands.
Thank you. The next speaker is Paul Catterton, followed by followed by Steve Wilson. Paul Catterton, followed by Steve Wilson. Is Steve here?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. For sake of argument, let's assume that solar energy is an unalloyed good. There are no toxic materials, there's no problems with additional runoff, no problems with decommissioning these sites. Assume that it's an unalloyed good. There are many other unalloyed goods that we could have in Baltimore County, and I won't bother making examples because you're smart enough to figure them out. All of them could be done more cheaply on farmland. None of them should be done on farmland because farmland is also an unalloyed good. Proof of that is the millions of dollars that state and this county government have spent over the years preserving the farmland. Everyone here has worked at various times and on various projects to preserve farmland and our rural legacies. I won't go into any more on the prices because that's already been discussed, but farmland is the only one of these unalloyed goods that can't be done someplace else. All these other things can be done somewhere else. Farming cannot. It's ironic that we're sitting here earlier, and it's first I heard of it, considering a loan for a company to farm greenhouses at Sparrows Point, while we're also sitting here considering destroying farmland that already exists. That doesn't make any sense to me. We've also heard some concern for companies that have risked money to put into these projects. I can tell you from attending all those hearings, they're out-of-state companies, and their money, I understand they have the same rights as everyone else, but as a percentage of our net wealth, I can tell you the neighbors, we're spending a whole lot more than those companies on this issue, and we're your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. Our next speaker is Steve Wilson, followed by Paul Hartman.
Thank you for your time. I today come as also a farmer, a third-generation farmer. I milked cows for 40 years. And as the gentleman on the end stated, I too am conflicted. I've farmed the farm, and I'd like to pass it on to my daughters to make them a fifth generation. But at the same time, I hear repeatedly things said about saving the farmland. Yet what's been said about saving the farmer? Everybody out here wants to drink almond milk, peanut milk, and every other thing you name is milk, and nobody stepped up to stop that and protect the farmer. If I would sell or rent part of my ground to the solar company, I will get 5 to 10 times what I would growing crops on that. I've been told to grow hops. I've been told to grow barley. I've been told to grow other things so I can make alcohol. Because everybody wants alcohol, I'm told, and that's very prosperous. Well, now I'm supposed to grow marijuana. Maybe I should grow hemp. But at the same time, I think everyone prospers and gains from local grown solar. So I had written many things, and I'm not even reading off of them, but what I do know is solar is clean, it's quiet, and now we're in the thoughts of having pollinator-friendly grasses. And again, I end as I started, I am conflicted, but I am in favor of saving the farmer and not just the farmland, and I would like to see solar on my ground. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Paul Hartman, followed by Kelsey Crane. Kelsey, are you here? Kelsey Crane? There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members. Again, Paul Hartman. This time I am representing just myself and not speaking on behalf of any organization or group. I'll keep it brief because a lot of what I was going to say has already been said. But it seems not logical to me that we are using up a finite resource, which is farmland, or whether it's being actively farmed or not, it's still habitat for various flora and fauna, and not having any of these proposed sites on B or M zones, which are already, let's say, less than beautiful. I there's about 200 acres of land approximately that these 14 projects would take, and I can't believe there aren't 200 acres worth of parking lots that we could use in Baltimore County for these kinds of developments, plus lots more. Just one example is the Towson Mall. They put solar on their Delaney Valley Road garage top, and that's not one of these plants, but it's just for use in their building. But they used a small fraction of their available garage space and rooftop space for this facility. So it seems to me that there's ample opportunities for these facilities in B and M zones, and we ought to be using those first before taking away a finite resource, which is our RC zone areas. There was no one at the planning board hearings on this topic that testified to the fact that it would be impractical or infeasible or uneconomic to build in B or M zones. No one mentioned that whatsoever. It just appears that it's easier to build on dirt than it is on asphalt or a garage top roof, but it still would be economic to build there and have a solar farm that would make money, which is obviously the case that they want to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kelsey Crane, followed by Kevin Kreischer.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I work for Forefront Power. We're developing a couple projects here in Baltimore County, and I'd like to repeat what some other people said about investments. We have two projects that specifically, we have more than that, but they're in the Council Manager District 6 and 3. I mean, no, 6 and 2. No, 6 and 4, sorry. 6 and 4, and those have had significant investment. We have purchased equipment. We have teams ready to go on the ground. These projects are, we talk about our investment is important because our investment gives the local residents discounts on their bill through community solar and also provides income for the landowner. So while we are worried about us as a business, we're also worried about the community and also climate change and green energy. Some things that I just want to counteract is the scenic highway. Yes, that's important, and yes, I think that those should be treasured, but we go through an extensive process with scenic road studies through the county. We work with Jim Herman, who I believe isn't there anymore, at landscaping, and it's an extensive, I mean, Baltimore County has a great landscaping buffer in place that is imposed on us. Second point was pollution and decommissioning. These don't have pollution. We don't clean them, we don't fertilize, we let everything grow. I think once or twice a year someone will come and mow it down. And then we also have to put decommissioning bonds in place that will bring this soil back to the same place it is now, and then it can be farmed again in 25 to 30 years. Like many of my colleagues said, there's no sound, there's no traffic, we screen, we don't cut down trees, we don't have stormwater runoff, because there's nothing to run off, it's just the rain coming off the panels onto the ground. So I just want to emphasize that our investment is important in solar, to invest in discounts for the community, and I think solar is a great idea, and the bill should not be approved.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kevin Kreischer, followed by G. Macy Nelson.
I'm a executive committee member for the Greater Baltimore group of the Maryland Sierra Club, and I also am a farmer. Well, the farm is in New York State. I'm a third-generation farmer. As someone who is very interested in clean energy and this is my primary concern, conservation, I am speaking out against the moratorium. I believe it is one step forward, two steps backward. And I sat in on the sessions for the creation of 3717. That goal was to create the compromise or establish a balance between the establishment of clean energy and the preservation of wild and farm land. And I think it did a pretty good job. Now, each application has to be dealt with individually. That's absolutely necessary. I think the window was established in order for applications to be handled that way. Why is there another reason for this moratorium? I would like to make one point that hopefully will level the playing field. It's very polarized, and that is solar farms, one of the great things about them is that they do not occupy or destroy the property. It's a very simple construction process. Posts are pile driven, panels are assembled, cables are laid, a transformer is set up, and a fence is put around it. And if I recall, there was a tight window required for when the voltage reached zero. The farm would have to be taken down and the land returned to the point that it was at when the construction began. Now, as you have flowers and rodents and insects running free while the solar is generated, you have the healthiest soil you can imagine. The next morning, the next year, you can till the soil. And in that way, it's like the rotation of a crop. Soybeans use sun to create food, and the panels use sun to create energy. Both are absolutely necessary for the future. They work together like the rotation of a crop.
Thank you. Our next speaker is G. Macy Nelson, followed by Jason Giannetti.
Good afternoon, Mason Nelson here. I represent citizens in land use cases across the state, and we do a lot of special exception cases. And of course, the bill that was passed a few years ago allows this use by special exception. I support the moratorium because I believe that there are deficiencies in the current bill, deficiencies that have an adverse impact on the ability of the community to participate in a meaningful way, especially with respect to the landscaping issue. And the current model in Baltimore County is an applicant applies for a special exception and the criteria are, in my view, deficient. They can be improved. The administrative law judge has, in every instance, approved the special exception. And then the applicant goes to the DRC and applies for an exemption to be excused from another public review of the process. That's another way that the community is taken out of the process. People live in the community. And I think that this bill can be improved. I think 9 months is a short period of time. And Councilwoman Bevins raised the issue of the grandfather. There's a whole body of law in Maryland about grandfather. This is not the first time someone has talked about grandfather. There's a body of law that addresses when someone has a property right that is preserved. So it's not something that we need to confront for the first time. I would ask you to consider that body of law. The rules are quite straightforward. So I support the moratorium. It's 9 months. I think it gives the council an opportunity to improve the bill in a way that protects the rights of the people who live in the community and protects the rights of the people who seek the special exception. So for all those reasons, I support the moratorium. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jason Giannetti, followed by James Baseman. Jason Giannetti, followed by James Baseman.
Hello, thank you for your time. My name is Jason Giannotti here with Power 52, which is co-founded by Ray Lewis. And as Councilman Jones spoke earlier, the community solar program focus and enhancing the opportunity for low and moderate income, that's our 100% sole focus. We have one project here that was approved with no appeals next to a substation. The reason why I'm here is because what we've seen is the amount of people we've trained to be prepared to get jobs and employment in the clean energy sector. The amount of investment they put in to get through an 11-week program where they're not paid, but they're investing in themselves. And to see that this 9-month ban, I'm against it, to be clear, the 9-month ban would really hinder the opportunity that has been created for so many of these people, returning citizens, veterans, high school students who feel they want to go a VOTEC route. So the reason why we feel it's against it is because we feel that the process we've gone through on the special exception is extensive and does give a chance for people to kind of get into the project and make sure we're following the regulations. And to echo what I heard from the young, I think, fourth-generation farmer, we've heard a lot, the farming community, and I understand the conflict. I get it. I'm not blind to that. But what we've heard from many farmers is that this is really the only sustainable way to keep the farm in their land. What we see the rates that they're getting for soybeans and corn compared to solar is a game changer for their families. And so when we see the farmers we've interacted with benefit from this so much, as well as offer the job employment and the career opportunities, we think it's a win-win. We also feel that when you look at the cost and the discount on the electricity that's offered to low, moderate income communities. As it was stated correctly, it is much more expensive to build a project on a rooftop or on a concrete pad than it is on the farm. So those discounts and those costs transfer through to the off-taker. So if you have high income and great credit and you own a home, then you're a good solar customer. The purpose of community solar was to bring more people into that fold that are in the low, moderate income community.
Thank you. Our next speaker is James Baseman, followed by Santo Mirabile.
I support the memorandum. I don't think the community was properly made aware of the discussions for the original bill. I do want to comment about Councilman Crandall's discussion over the bed and breakfast. His concern was the community might have a problem with 20 bed and breakfasts opposed to 5, and I appreciate that concern. For a minute, realize that one project alone adjacent to my property, there are 21 homes, 21 families that ring this proposed solar field. On the same street that I live, there's 3 more proposed projects. If you've ever driven down Route 50 to Ocean City, you'll see a 113-acre solar utility site. It's awful. I've heard people talk about their investment, the businesses here, and I want you to think about my investment. That I bought property 30 years ago and bought into the RC2 zoning, which I might add, the county spends millions of dollars on zoning laws and rural conservation. Only to have this special exception pop up. I mean, I'm asking, what's next? An amusement park? What happens, I don't want to be flip, but what happens if a councilman's lobbyist comes from the Amusement Park Association of America and says, we can put this up cheaper in RC2 than we can anywhere else? Are we going to have amusement parks in Baltimore County? I want you to think about how many people here today are actually constituents and residents of the county that are for these solar utilities, and how many people that are testifying that don't live in northern Baltimore County. The environmental group that's here today is from Washington, D.C. The directors and founders are lawyers. Some of them are even directors of solar development companies. It's nothing but a lobbying firm. Other people that are testifying today do not live in Baltimore County. So I think you need to consider the people that vote for you.
Our next speaker is Santo Mirabile, followed by David Matthews.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Thank you for having me speak this morning. My name is Santo Mirabile. I'm the president of the Hanover Road Association, a community association located in the 3rd District. Our association provides representation for areas north of Reisterstown along Route 30 to the Carroll County border. We are one of the first communities to have a special exception application for our community solar field some 2 years ago. We are an association that spans approximately 54 square miles, and during the past 2 years, we have experienced a total of 3 applications for commercial solar fields, all within 2 linear miles of each other. The Hanover Road Association has worked with many other groups to try to influence legislation to protect our prime and productive soils. The HRA's boundaries primarily consist of prime and productive soils. All 3 applications submitted have been on areas made up of majority prime and productive soils. It is critical to the sustainability of farms and agriculture industry in rural Baltimore County that these finite soils remain protected from industrial development, specifically commercial solar power generation. The HRA supports the bill as is written because we believe that under current legislation there is not adequate protection provided to the RC zone farms. The current legislation has forced many associations to bear the huge financial burden of arguing against the special exception hearings to impress upon the administrative law judges the importance of protecting our dwindling farms. We believe in accordance with the master farmlands should remain farms, and that development, especially solar, needs to be done as an accessory to existing farms. These initial developments are designated to be in place for 20, 30, and sometimes even 40 years. Generations will be impacted by their presence. This is relatively a new development in technology compared to the longevity of their projects. Most other counties in Maryland have realized the potential for unintended consequences with these new developments and have erred on the side of caution to fully understand their impact. I believe Baltimore County rushed through its legislative process initially, and that there will be many unexpected pitfalls which will lessen the green impact.
Thank you. Our next speaker, David Matthews, followed by Richard Boyce.
Good afternoon. Little background, I've lived in Baltimore County my entire life. I'm raising kids in North County. You know me if you're from up there. I run the Cub Scouts. I coach everything. I'm deeply invested in North County and will be for the rest of my life. I'm a huge supporter of this solar thing because every farmer around us is suffering, honestly. Like, we have farmers who are trying desperately to develop their properties in some way. Some have given up altogether. The children of farmers my age are refusing to even take on the farms because they can't turn a profit for anything with the cost of living here. It's a real, genuine problem. The numbers Mr. Katz cited are a real problem with farms. This opportunity is a way to turn that around. It's a way to turn the farms into an asset for our kids and for decades to come. Now that I don't want the agricultural trust money that keeps me running a failing business for the next 25 years. I want a business plan and a new idea to embrace the future that's coming in a way that can keep my farm profitable and there in one piece. It's just a tiny portion of my farm, and the kids can farm it for decades to come. That's a big deal. And in North County, we believe in property rights, more than anything, right? That's like the number one when you come up there is property rights and farmers and landowners' abilities to grow and adapt and change and embrace the future of what's coming. Not to shut it down and fight it at every turn. Like, something is going to have to happen. Farms are failing today. They're certainly going to fail in 20 years. Something, setting this whole thing back 9 months, I've already lost an entire season of income, right? We're struggling. I should speak for myself. We are definitely struggling. And to set it back 9 months not only affects the solar companies, it affects the farmers who own this dirt, who own the land, who've invested $750,000 in it. And it being mine, and knowing what's best for trying to have it survive till my kids are old enough, right? To me, that's a big deal, and it's important. And I think when you hear the farmers that have been up here, we're saying the same thing, right?
Thank you. Our next speaker is Richard Boyce, followed by Paul Merritt. Richard Boyce, followed by Paul Merritt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I'm a homeowner adjacent to the proposed solar farm between Greystone and Burke Roads in northern Baltimore County, and I am in favor of this moratorium. You would be hard-pressed to find a piece of rural land for a commercial solar project that is bordered by so many homeowners' properties and affects so many lives and property values. There are 21 homes in our community that border this property that will get a good look at a commercial solar farm with over 3,200 solar panels and an 8-foot chain link fence for at least 25, 30 years. You would think that consideration would be given to solar facilities in the most appropriate sites. However, these special exemption cases are apparently being granted to anyone who applies, rather than in a location that has the least negative impact and fewest neighboring properties. We have bought homes in a rural community next to and overlooking a rural farmland, which is being turned into a view of a commercial solar complex. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Paul Merritt, followed by Barbara Herefeld.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm here. I'm a landowner in Baltimore County. I've lived and resided in Baltimore County all my life, and I'm just here to say that this moratorium is important. The county itself needs to look at the county, not what solar thinks, not what Maryland thinks, not what what the state view is. We need to look at the county and what the county needs and what the county needs to the future of the county. I mean, solar belongs in places, but it doesn't belong in these RC2 zones. It also does not belong like in neighborhoods, like the man just said. It doesn't belong in a neighborhood. It's almost just like saying it's looking as a jail. They put up a fence around the place, and that's what you have next to us. And there's no attraction for people to come to Baltimore County at that point, to rural Baltimore County and live. And especially with the land prices. I mean, you look at the people in the other areas like Dundalk and Essex and all that have moved out my way because their attraction is to come pay more money and live out in the country, and they pay for that, and that's what they want. When you take that away, that attraction is gone then. There's no attraction for the people to move out to the country. So the moratorium is important for the county to look at that and to look at where the money goes from these solar facilities. Does it actually benefit the county in any way? And also, Mr. Crandall and Ms. Bevins talk about the expense of these solar companies. Well, I myself, they're putting a facility next to my home, and I'm looking at spending $10,000. Well, my $10,000 compared to my income is nothing compared to what these companies spend. It's endless, and there's other people in this whole room that are doing the same thing. They're paying their money out of their pocket to make it work. Now, and there's certain places they should go, but the county doesn't look that close with these special exceptions and all. They just approve them. And not to throw Mr. Catch into the view, but he's actually came and saw our site where they want to put it next to us, and it is a bad decision. And also did the former councilwoman, Vicki Allman, also came. And when she came, she's like, oh, this is terrible. And I beg of all you to come look at some of these sites. That's what the most important thing would be, is for you to come and see where they want to put these. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Barbara Harryfeld, followed by Crystal Hansley.
My name is Barbara Harefield. I live in northern Baltimore County. The one site, proposed site, is right next door to me, and it'll be about 100 feet from our property line. And they're calling it a solar farm. Webster's New World Dictionary defines a farm as a piece of land with a house, barn, etc., where crops are grown and it may have livestock. There's no livestock on these solar panels. And what comes off of them from the rain could be hazardous to our land. They're saying it isn't, but when it comes down from the rain, where does it go? It goes to our land and into the streams. It's an industrial site, not a solar farm. There will be more than 5 acres all along our property where these panels are. We'll walk outside, and for almost the whole length of our property, we'll see this black panels. And it may become dangerous. We plant potatoes and tomatoes every year. Our grandsons and granddaughter help us clean up, pick up the tomatoes and potatoes. Will we be able to have them anymore? Who knows? Also, as Scarlett O'Hara said in Gone with the Wind when she picked up the dirt, she said, "As the Lord is my witness, I will never be hungry again." If all this fertile land is used up, will we be hungry again? Who's to know? By the time this is over, we'll be gone. We won't know, but our children will. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Crystal Hansley, followed by Demikia De Silva.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Councilman. My name is Crystal Hansley, and I'm a community solar advocate here, and I'm representing the working class families and the low to moderate income households that would benefit from community solar in Baltimore County. I live right on a city-county line, and you know what? 15 to 25% for LMI discounts is huge. And I think all the working class families who are not in this room because they're at work would be very sad to know that their elected officials voted against their ability to really benefit from community solar and saving. Like, my generation is also not represented in this room. And I feel like we need to be moving forward, not backwards. And so I think this is great. This is what democracy is. But I mean, what are we doing? Like, this should not really be an issue when we're talking about environmental climate change. Your county residents in Dundalk, they'll be flooded. I mean, look at the flooding zones. Baltimore County is red. So we really need to be moving forward. Community solar is a great idea, especially for low, moderate house incomes that would save 15 to 25% on their electric bills each month. There's just no debating that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Demikia De Silva, followed by Gwyneth Han. Gwyneth Han.
Council members, my family, we have 100 acres in Freeland, Maryland, 70 of which is farmable, 30, which is not. We normally grow soybeans and corn, but guess what? Because of trade wars, we got no buyers for our soybean. So we're hanging on by a thread. So for us, solar is a great option. We can take about 19 acres of our unplantable fields and generate some revenue. That way, I don't have to take out handouts from anyone here and take valuable tax dollars. So I'm against 102.18 because it's an insult to the farming community. You do not offer anything to help us out. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Gwyneth Han, followed by Mike Farley.
Good afternoon. My name is Gwyneth Han. I live at 19600 Gray Run Road. For this delay, I live on the corner of Grave Run and Thresh Mill Road. The property directly in front of me, 300 feet away from my porch, is supposed to put this solar system on for 5 acres. If you wake up one day and all of a sudden see black panels, and sir, are you paying attention to me?
We are. We're
I am
actually
putting
talking
my
about
heart
what
out
you
here.
Yeah, we're listening. We're talking
It's
exactly
putting
about what you
everything
said.
I got. Let me tell you, I'm not a speaker, and I know my time is ticking away. But my house is facing this. It's in my front yard, 300 feet from my front porch. It's right there. The animals, the deers, everything crosses this. And the young lady said here that the solar panels makes no noise. What about the transformers? Do they make noise? So, that's what you say. Take me. Take me out there and educate me. Show me what's going on. I'm going to learn. I'm not against this completely, but I am against it when it's in the neighborhood. Please protect our homes. I want this to be something for my children, something for my, what is the value of our house going to be worth? We own 2 pieces of property right there. And my front yard, I love looking at deer. I love looking at the fox. The water runoff goes right down to the stream down there that goes into Pretty Boy, the main.
Thank you.
you.
Councilman Martin.
I just do want to say something, The urban-rural demarcation line has been a very effective planning tool. But what it has done is those of us who represent very densely populated areas have borne the brunt of a lot of development to keep the north rural, and that's important. I just want to bring that out. Our neighborhoods have borne an awful lot of development.
And Ms. Han, I do want to say, no, we were just commenting on exactly what you were testifying on. Okay, next speaker, Mike Farley, followed by Teresa Moore.
You two up there worry about investments. I got 16 years invested in a piece of property that I rented out. I'm be 65 years old. That was my retirement. What's it going to be worth now? Now I got to tell buyers that, oh yeah, by the way, there might be a solar thing over here. The value goes down. You're stealing money from me, okay? You're taking away my retirement. These people coming here are from Virginia, different places that want to develop these areas. I have a place in Virginia. I don't see any solar panels in Virginia down in Mecklenburg County, Bedford County. Why don't they go down there and push this solar stuff? You don't have a clue what it's going to do. You should have took more time in doing this. We got streams down there. This one says the runoff from the panels won't hurt. This one says it will. I don't know. But it's very close to a stream that runs down to a trout stream, Tier 3. You need to do some more study on this. You need to worry about the community people. They didn't come to us and say anything. I was told from a guy in Tennessee about how this was going down. They put the sign up the day after Christmas. They only give us 20-some days notice. There's something wrong with this process, and you guys need to fix it. You got a dump down there in Texas, right, Mr. Catch? There's all that open land. Put it on places like that. There's a friggin' quarry there and a railroad track. Who cares about that kind of stuff? Now, you want to put it there. I farm this place on Rush Mill Road. A guy after me farms productive land. Like we say, and you're going to steal my inheritance, my savings for my retirement in days that I'm not so good at health. You guys need to think of that before you think of somebody coming out of Virginia talking to some of these people. I'm not against it. You need to work with BG&E to get them to do better on their systems so other people that want the house, stuff on the roofs can do it. They're not accepting them at this point. If they can't accept them, they don't need to accept these people if they're not taking private owners, and that's a fact. Mr. Donaldson, which does this, told my neighbor, which told me, you need to work with PG&E to get this stuff, better lines and stuff, emissions put up so you can put this in places that people want it, and it's not so unsightly as a big field of fences.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Bevins. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make a comment. When I talked about people's investments, I wasn't just talking about the solar people's investments. I'm talking about the farmers who are ready to sell or lease their land for this investment, who are counting on this money, and this is the way they want to farm. So I wasn't just to be clear. No, this is. I just want to make myself clear. It wasn't just about the solar people. It was about the farmers themselves and this investment for them as well.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Teresa Moore, followed by Jack Dillon.
Hi, thank you. I just remember testifying on this back when it was 3717 and saying I thought we were doing a ready, fire, aim process, and I think that's a lot of why we're here today. We asked for recommendations and a study before we did the bill, but we did the bill first. And then you sent us back to the plant. You go have a discussion about it, have a study, and then we'll take recommendations from the planning board. Well, we've got them now, and they're recommending that we change the bill. So it's unfortunate that it changes the rules for people, but that's the process that was set up. We didn't do the study and the recommendations first. We did the bill first, and now we're finding out what the snags are. So we're sorry that it's awkward, but it is. And I had more prepared to say, but I'm going to cut it short because I thought that was important. But as a result of Bill 3717 and what has happened with the surrounding counties in BGE's territory, BGE's service territory includes a 2,300 square mile area that includes Baltimore City and 10 other counties. But we're getting more than 56% of the projects here in Baltimore County on the RC zones because we did nothing to say, please consider soils. We have projects where there's a big site and there's prime soil and non-prime, and they're going on the prime. We ignore the RC2 special exception regulations because they say we're in special regulations. RC2 doesn't matter. So when they say that the process is funky, it is. It's disregarding our long-standing RC2 regulations. We have 15 projects in Baltimore County in the community solar. 5 are in Anne Arundel, and they since had a moratorium and changed their regulations. And then there are 3 in the city and 1 in a couple of other counties. But we're getting the bulk of it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jack Dillon, followed by Christopher Barales. Jack Dillon, followed by Christopher Barales.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the council. My name is Jack Dillon. I'm former senior planner, rural area planner for Baltimore County, and then later as the executive director of the Valley's Planning Council, now retired. I was also one of the 3 planners that were part of the architects of the original RC zones. And we took that whole process very, very seriously. Particularly the RC2 zone was very important. I'm upset about a couple of things here with regard to the legislation that was passed a year ago allowing the solar panels. They've actually taken the special exception process that was normally permitted, that we're all familiar with, and placed it under a separate body of law that doesn't even recognize the purpose and intent of RC2 or any of the RC zones. That's just not the way it should be. Secondly, I think that the chairman made a comment earlier that you're looking for a middle ground. This supporting this legislation gives you that middle ground to work out the compromises that need to be made and the changes that need to be made to the original legislation. It's vitally important. As someone said earlier, RC2, particularly the prime and productive soils, are finite. Maybe 200 acres doesn't seem like a lot, but it has a huge impact overall. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Christopher Barales, followed by George Della.
I'd like to thank the council for having us all speaking. Good afternoon, I'm Chris Barales. I represent Cypress Creek Renewables, developer of 2 solar projects here in Baltimore County. I not only represent Cypress Creek, though, I also represent the landowners with which we've been working. These projects are community solar projects, which means they tie into the local grid and provide benefits for the local community as well. Along with that, we've been engaged with the county for 2 years on these projects. Throughout that time, we've made considerable changes to the initial designs, which include large setbacks and substantial visual buffers, landscaping buffers for both projects. Mainly, it's a reduction in system size and capacity in order to meet these requirements that we've talked with from the local level. We made these changes, and we were very pleased when the county granted us approval last year. We look forward to successful conclusion with the appeals process that's currently underway. We continue to remain willing and interested in talking to the community, and any concerns that come up, we'd be glad to speak more and continue that appeals process. But based on the current project statuses, we respectfully request that the county not adopt this proposed moratorium. And in the event that you do decide to adopt this moratorium, to enact some form of grandfather for these projects or current projects that have gone through such substantial appeals and planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. George Della, I know former senator from Maryland State Senator 1983, I think to 2011. It's good to see you. And then Doug Carroll, followed by former Senator Della.
My favorite person, Doug Carroll, right. Good evening. I think it's evening by now. Somewhere in this discussion is the truth. There's some people up here that have stretched it. Let me tell you. You know something? All of these folks here, all of these folks that are for this moratorium, you wonder why they're here. Because something's wrong. They've been forced to dip into their own pockets. They've been forced to go out and sell 50-50 tickets. You got a bus driver for the Baltimore City school system. She and her disabled brother are impacted by this current law. Why? Because there's a solar utility plant planted in her backyard. That's why these people are here. And there have been errors from day one in the formulation of this current law. You've got an Environmental Quality Commission. Each one of you have a member on it. They made recommendations to the council how to deal with solar. It got lost in the discussion. You charged the planning board. Each one of you have a member on that planning board of coming back, of studying and reporting back to you their findings. That's what this bill is all about. Their findings. There's something wrong. Granted, people have property rights. The farmers have property rights. But so do the adjacent people that are negatively impacted by it. The current law only mandates the bare minimum of setbacks, the bare minimum of some kind of plannings, if it's possible. Because, how would you like to look out your window at 9,000 solar panels? And they're all LLCs. And why, you might ask? Because they don't want to be exposed to liability. And
Our next speaker is Doug Carroll, followed by Kathleen Piper.
Mr. Chairman, may I It's almost 4:30. I have a very important meeting related to this issue that I have to be there at 4:30. I apologize to everyone in the room. I thank my constituents for coming down in support of this bill. And again, I apologize, and I'm certainly available to each and every one of you. So thank you very much.
So our next speaker is Doug Carroll, followed by Kathleen Piper.
I'm 100% for farming, open space, conservation easements, and beauty being a public amenity. I'm 96% for solar energy. The 4% difference is the difference in cost in the final project between going on open land and going on commercial and rooftops. We're talking about a 4% difference for all of this emotion in this room, 4%. All you have to do, listen to your planning board, look at the counties around you, and look at the state of Massachusetts that solve this problem with no laws against putting solar on open land. They simply put a 5% surtax on open land solar in Massachusetts. Massachusetts is one of the most progressive states on solar energy there is. They've had no problem finding sites. The 5% put an end to the discussion. We're talking about 4% difference in cost of the final project. The reason it's such an emotional situation is because these are startup costs, so it becomes magnified with the first steps, leases. It's obviously a lot cheaper to lease land that has just been opened up than to deal with Ed St. John's 4,000 acres of commercial land. He's waiting to see what happens with the solar on rural land before he sells rights. So I also just quickly, it's going to be very difficult to get anyone to preserve land permanently once this happens. If you own permanently preserved land, which precludes any commercial use forever, and someone builds a solar panel on a farm next to you, you are really screwed, and it's going to be very hard to get anyone to preserve land ever again in the county if you add a new use.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Kathleen Piper, followed by Taylor Smith Hans.
Bill 10218 proposes a temporary moratorium, not a ban. The moratorium would allow Baltimore County to jump ahead to best practices learned by others. If you recall, the Commission on Environmental Quality submitted a report that includes recommendations on commercial solar collection facilities on agricultural land in Baltimore County. Unfortunately, these recommendations were not incorporated into current law. We can also look to other jurisdictions that recently updated their zoning codes for solar projects and created value from otherwise unusable land. A temporary moratorium in Baltimore County would allow land use policies to be developed in a way that benefits our communities and the environment. For example, Talbot County has enacted directives aimed at steering solar development away from targeted ecological areas. Queen Anne's County has enacted comprehensive landscaping conditions tailored to the specific characteristics of solar arrays, instead of using standards written for shopping malls and subdivisions. Talbot County has enacted provisions that ensure adequate funding for the cost of restoring the land at end of a solar facility's useful life. Annapolis just completed an 18-megawatt solar facility on a capped landfill that will generate $5 million in revenue for the city over the course of its 20-year lease. The moratorium will provide an opportunity for a set of guidelines and incentives to help solar energy grow without friction or unintended consequences. In closing, a moratorium won't hold Baltimore County back. It will accelerate progress toward renewable energy. The North County Community Group urges you to support passage of 10218.
Our next speaker, Taylor Smith Hands, followed by Carrie Neary.
Hi, my name is Taylor Smith-Hams. I'm a Healthy Communities campaign organizer with the Chesapeake Climate Action Network and Seacant Action Fund. And I'm here to urge you to oppose this moratorium. I'm here speaking as probably one of the youngest people in this room. I'm 24 years old, and I am absolutely terrified of the future that awaits me because of climate change. I have already started to experience the impacts and see how how the world is changing around me. My family lives in California, and they had to evacuate down a mountain to escape a wildfire. That's the world that we live in right now. And it's only getting worse, and it's only getting worse much faster. And frankly, this is the world that your generation is leaving my generation. And 9 months may not seem like that long, but when you're talking about a 3-year pilot program, it really is. This could really destroy the pilot program. And if we destroy a pilot program, we could destroy our entire state's chance of having a robust community solar program for years to come. And we only have 10 years to address this crisis. If you're looking at the most recent reports, we don't have time. The climate cannot wait. And this is just, it's unacceptable to be pushing my generation and younger people's generations and putting our lives on the line while we try and figure out all of these details. And I understand and respect that there are complications here and that every individual project should be thought about and considered carefully. But a sweeping moratorium like this, it threatens the whole pilot program, it threatens Maryland's future, and it threatens my future and the future of young people. So please, I really urge you to oppose this.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Carrie Neary, followed by Stephanie Sinkowski.
Hi, my name is Carrie Neary. I'm with Summit Ridge Energy, a developer with a few projects, both within the state and Baltimore County, both on roofs and different types of land. But here in Baltimore County, our interested landowners have agricultural land, and to have a project, you need to have an interested landowner. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in Baltimore County to date. Solar is a mature industry and a good thing. The effects are known. What we are proposing are good, clean, non-intrusive projects that bring jobs and revenue to the county, low-cost power directly to your residents, and crop stability to your local farmers. Solar projects are not decreasing the interest in agriculture. The instability in crop prices are. The solar projects allow your farmers to diversify their incomes and to continue farming. These projects are banking land for the future. At the end of their useful life, the equipment comes out into their entirety and the land returns to farmland. Due to the nutrient-rich vegetation we plant with the projects, things like erosion improve on the property and essentially creating a meadow for the project life. The farmland will actually be more productive at the end of the useful life for future generations. The projects are quiet, non-invasive, and only about 8 feet tall. The materials are primarily crystalline silicon, and followed by, which is the second most abundant element in the Earth's crust, followed by things like aluminum and glass, common, non-hazardous. We're not proposing dirty development such as a coal or chemical facility changing your community forever. We pride ourselves on responsible development and have actually stopped development on certain projects in Baltimore County that don't make sense with the neighbors. But the county has protections in place to support responsible development as well, including a thorough permitting process where each project is already individually considered through a public hearing, and the projects have a decommissioning security in place. I ask you, Council, consider the benefits and the responsible way in which these are designed. Revenue, jobs, low-cost power, and better farmland. Let your farmers have some stability in their income and do what they love, what's in their blood. This moratorium hurts all of us, but hurts them the most.
Thank you. Stephanie, is Stephanie Sinkowski here? Is Stephanie Sinkowski here? All right, how about Jim Wolf? Jim Wolf, followed by John Hubner.
The bill as it stands now and how it's being implemented is flawed.
a solar farm is being proposed in our community, and this is the poster child of unintended consequences. It's at the entrance to our community along a scenic road. The farm is being proposed on a farm field that, with a 75-foot change in topography from top to bottom, impossible to effectively buffer. It was still approved by the ALJ, although he stated that he did not agree with placing solar on farmland. He said he was powerless to deny because the landscape plan did not need final approval, even though the planning department rejected the initial landscape plan that was submitted due to concerns about topography. This would be the only visual buffer protecting the neighbors and the view from the scenic road. Now, this developer has been granted a waiver by the Development Review Committee, so we won't even have the opportunity to have any community input for the plan approvals, contrary to what the woman before me stated. We also have a substantial investment in our homes and in the time and money that we've spent to fight this folly of a project. We all knew that the study was to happen when the bill was passed, both the developers and the community. We all prepared ourselves. We all dedicated our time and resources. So the idea of grandfathering or not putting a moratorium is not valid in my opinion. Please follow the recommendations of the Planning Board and pass this bill as it is written. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, John Hubner, followed by Netta Prey.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Council members. My name is John Hubner. I'm a retired natural resource specialist from Baltimore County, DEPRM. I spent 22 years with the agency and health department before that, and then another 14 years running an environmental consulting business afterwards. During the course of my employment with the county and subsequent consulting work there, a lot of what I did was to review plans put in place by people who wanted to develop land for one purpose or another. And over the years, one of the things I've seen reoccur time and time again is that the county code, the tools we use to do our work, and in some cases state regulations, were just inadequate to the job. I propose that we support the idea of a moratorium so that we can provide proper tools to assess these projects. Furthermore, after the fact, after everybody has put their engineering work in place and designed stormwater managements for these facilities, oftentimes these things fail after the fact. These projects should come with a bond that lasts the life of the facility so that we don't have to pay valuable tax dollars later for the county or the state to go in and restore resources that have been destroyed by projects like this. Property owners do have rights, but their rights end at the property line, whereas the impact of their actions and the pollution that results from that and the degradation of our resources continues on onto other people's properties as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Netta Prey. And the next person would be Renee Hamady.
I just wanted to address preliminarily a couple of remarks. Mr. Crandall had said that some companies in his area had already invested a lot of money in preparation for solar projects. But I would like to point out to you, is that incorrect?
No, I said that a company
in my district is doing the installation at Amazon. When I stated that companies have already made investments, I was talking countywide.
Well, I got the impression that you were saying that some companies couldn't afford to be delayed by the 9-month moratorium because of investments that they had made. And
plans that the landowners themselves have made.
But I wanted to point out, in response to that, that the communities, these projects are popping up like whack-a-mole at Chuck E. Cheese. They're all over. Our neighborhood is infested with them, and our communities, our families, have had to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars fighting back. And of course, we're not as affluent as the companies are. And I just wanted to make that point, that it's hurting us financially in all of these communities in northern Baltimore County in the 3rd District. But I'd like to say at the outset that we're definitely for solar. We want the clean energy. But the reason we want the moratorium is because we want to find out what is the right place to put these solar projects in. We have a lot of other places that would be very appropriate, and we have some ideas on that, but I won't take up time today detailing where those are, but in a moratorium, that can be done.
Thank you.
Already?
Our next speaker, Renee Hamidi, followed by Robert Stanhope.
So time is money. A solar company has a year from the time it applies for a community solar installation to get the project up and running. It can get a 6-month extension if it submits a deposit of $50 per kilowatt hour. I'll do the math. That works out to $100,000 for a 2-megawatt project. BGE can further extend the deadline if there's a pending legal challenge or some other issue the solar company says it can't control. So a moratorium will delay the solar projects that have already been applied for, but BGE has never denied an extension request, including for reasons like winter making construction difficult, or because an herbicide was applied to the area so it's not stable enough to build on yet. So all these projects will still be there waiting at the end of the moratorium. One of the solar companies, Forefront Power, figured out a way around that $100,000 deposit. It withdrew its application and immediately refiled it, restarting the year it had to finish the project without having to come up with $100,000. Unfortunately, for Forefront, it didn't file its property return, so it was forfeited and had to withdraw all of its applications. But don't worry about Forefront. It did file a return last month, and yesterday it refiled for a solar installation on Old Court Road. So my question is, if that's how a company operates when it's actively working on projects in Baltimore County, where is that company going to be in 20 or 30 years when it's time for the solar panels to be removed? Or even in 2 years if there's some problem with the installation? Solar companies are not committed to Baltimore County for the long term. Baltimore County has spent millions of dollars to preserve agricultural land and farmland because that's what it wants for future generations. That's what it wants for a legacy, and that can be your legacy. I hope you pass this bill, and I hope when the moratorium ends, you do what Harford and Carroll counties did and keep solar installations off of agricultural land.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Robert Stanhope, followed by Andrew Street. So Robert Stanhope, followed by Andrew Street.
My name is Bob Stanhope. I moved into Sparks 40 years ago with my family to start a nature center at Oregon Ridge. It's passive solar and state-of-the-art wood furnace for the 12 years I worked there. Ran on the heat of the sun and the heat of firewood in the furnace. I moved on to Cromwell Valley Park and discovered that during World War II, all the 3 farms that we put together were farmed intensively for food for Baltimore County. My first farming myself was in a former Victory Garden in the town where I grew up, and they kept it as a community garden. I made myself my first merit badge as a Boy Scout in gardening and got the whole sash filled and became an Eagle Scout. At Cromwell Valley, with the help of volunteers and farmers, we put together one of the first community-supported agricultural operations that fed 100 families once a week with good vegetables. I moved on to Marshy Point Nature Center next to the Chesapeake Bay and found out that the time I had spent in Baltimore County from 1980 on, our population in the Chesapeake Bay watershed had gone from 16 million to 18 million. Even more frightening than that is when they predict that by 2050, our world population will go from 7 billion to 9 billion. Well, we need to save our farmland. And even where I live in Sparks, my backyard is intensively farmed, but the rest of the northern part of the county should not turn into solar panels, as valuable as they are. The really prime productive soils should be growing food, and the rocky hillsides are perfect for the forests that will sequester carbon dioxide and slow down or stop the global warming. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Street, followed by Charlie Conklin. Andrew Street, followed by Charlie Conklin.
Hello, good afternoon. I work for Power Factor, which is a Baltimore-based company. I am obviously not from Baltimore, but the owner of the company, born and raised in Baltimore. We believe very much in farmland and in solar. We were contacted by a landowner on one specific project that we're developing. It's not active farmland, and I just want to state for the record, there is no runoff from solar panels. They are basically windows. Whatever runs off a solar panel comes from the sky. So there is no environmental impact from putting in solar panels. They also, at the end of 25 years, can be removed, and the land will be pristine. So our particular project, we're putting in a privacy fence. We're putting in pollinator-friendly seeding so that the land will basically be fallow for the 25 years. Also, the special exception process we will follow, so we will have the appropriate setbacks. We will work with the neighbors. We want this project to fit the farmland that is northern Baltimore County. We wouldn't build something unless it fit within the context of the surrounding area. Also, the energy that's produced is going to low and moderate income people, and it is also going to the Department of Defense. I've been working in solar for almost 12 years. This project that we're developing is the smartest one we've ever done, and it should be built, and this moratorium isn't necessary. Each project should be evaluated on its merits.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Charlie Conklin, followed by Deborah Kleinman. Charlie Conklin, followed by Deborah Kleinman.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate your time and everything. And I want to accentuate the positive. We ought to look around and say positive. I think we all support solar, right? Isn't that right? Okay. And we all support BG&E because if I didn't get my electricity over the weekend, what would I have eaten, okay? So I just want to accentuate two areas of the positive. I represent the Soil Conservation District in Baltimore County and also the Gunpowder Valley Conservancy, which is a local land trust. And we support the moratorium bill. We wish that we had done this about a year and a half ago and done things a little bit different. But I think we ought to take our time and we ought to look at the bill and rethink the areas that are positive and the areas that are negative. The other thing that I want people to understand, I don't know if other people have heard about it or not, but what's a food shed? A food shed in about 50 or 75 years from now is any area that doesn't have their food local because transportation is going to be so expensive. That's the difference. That's why we need it today. And we have to look out for the future generations. That's the most important thing. But thank you for your time and your patience.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Deborah Kleinman, followed by Francis Uhas. Francis Uhas after Deborah Kleinman.
Hi. Thank you very much. I'm the chair of the Greater Baltimore Group of the Sierra Club. And I just want to note that I was a member of the CSA at Cromwell Valley, so I got my organic produce from there. I have solar panels on my house. We drive Priuses. We compost. We do everything that we can to work to save the earth. And I'm also a preschool teacher. But right now I'm representing the Sierra Club. The Sierra Club is fighting against a solar project in Nanjeboy, Maryland, right now in southern Maryland, because it's Georgetown University. They want to cut down a bunch of trees. They want to do it improperly. And I feel like Baltimore County has looked at the way that this that community solar is being built, and I feel like there might be a few issues with the bill that can be worked out, but I don't think that a moratorium is necessary. I think we've got 12 years on this planet to do things right. I feel like most people do not know that Maryland gets 80% of our power from undesirable sources: nuclear, coal, gas, and we're the worst state on the East Coast in terms of air and water pollution, because we are not doing things correctly in this state. And I feel like community solar is something that is good for the people that buy into it. It's also good for low-income people who can't put solar panels on their homes like I could. Maryland has some of the worst air on the East Coast, in large part because we have more coal-fired electric plants than other states. 42% of states in this country have community solar projects. Many of them are supporting low-income houses. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Francis Uhas, followed by Harriet McGinnis.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to share my personal story. I installed solar on my roof back in February of 2005, almost 14 years ago, when it was not necessarily a prudent business decision, but I was committed to it personally. It was more important at the time than buying a new dryer to replace my 30-year-old dryer or to replace my 20-year-old car, because I use the wind and sun to dry my laundry, and I'm perfectly happy to drive my car that still gets 60 miles to a gallon. Most important for being here today, I know I'm fortunate that I have the ideal roof characteristics on my 50-year-old ranch-style home to have installed solar almost 14 years ago. I'm fortunate to support the small solar energy generation system. Many of my friends in District 1 and family in District 6 also support solar and have signed on to the petition that the First Lady who spoke presented. So I hope to be their voice today as well. But for those people that are not as fortunate as I am, or the woman who just spoke before me, I feel like we're kindred spirits, that don't have the perfect roof characteristics, community solar would benefit them and benefit the opportunity to buy solar energy at a cheaper cost and to do the right thing for the environment. I do support land rights and those farmers that have land that they would like to use for solar to augment their income, and I believe their position should be considered as well. So I believe it's a compatible relationship between those farmers that want to use their land for solar and those that want to buy solar-generated energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Harriet McGinnis, followed by Bill Bielmeyer.
Good evening, I guess that is. I would like to speak as a continuing farmer of many years and the conversations we have received from other farmers. That is, they call us to stop us at farmer groups, get-togethers, and they are so happy we are testifying. But they are not going to testify because they are afraid they will lose their leased ground. And many of these solar fields are on leased ground. Of course, the agricultural citizens are against this because it takes away from their ability to survive and to produce food and fiber for our citizens. Not only that, but having to farm around these arrays is very difficult. A farmer would lose many more acres from the possible erosion and maneuvering of the equipment around a 6 to 8 foot chain link fence with 3 barbed wires around the top and an uneven layout of unsightly arrays here, there, and everywhere. Our farmers rely on leased fields for their livelihood, but these lands are targeted by the solar companies because they are simply the cheapest to rent. We have received many offers from LLC solar companies. A postcard comes or a letter every other week. As you know, when the arrays decay, new technology evolves, and after 5 years of promise to keep up the ground underneath the solar panels, these LLCs could easily be dissolved. Solar panels have a variety of options for placements, and crops can only be grown on land. So please place the situation of at least a moratorium to look this over and to look over even some of the single ones that have come up because they're very different.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bill Bielmeyer, followed by Henry Jenkins. Henry Jenkinson?
I don't have very much to say, but I was encouraged to speak here today. One of the issues I think here is that, to me, this is like the California gold rush. It's the easiest, it's the cheapest, it's the way that everybody's looking to get into this. And when it was spoken earlier today, all the surrounding counties don't allow this, and therefore it's a target to northern Baltimore County for these facilities. That sort of left me wondering, how did we get in this position? Why are we different? What happened here that happened? And I think it's something we need to look at because my friends and neighbors feel like they don't have a say in the process, that something has failed here. So I think this bill gives us the opportunity to revisit and relook at what we've done here and do it the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry Jenkins, followed by Glenn Ellsrode. Glenn Ellsrode here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Thank you for your service. My name is Henry Jenkins. I live in District 2, and I have lived there most of my life on a farm. But I don't live in the neighborhood of any of these proposed solar arrays. I guess what I'm going to say is that I think we're here because we've been so successful in Baltimore County in protecting farmland. We have a lot of farmland here in the northern part of the county. The county is recognized nationwide as a leader in farmland preservation. I happen to agree with a lot of people here who maybe have gotten things in the mail from some of these people who spoke earlier, direct mail pieces, because you could see what they found by a Google map. They found our farm, and there it was with all this open space, and they said, well, this guy might be a candidate, so they sent out a letter. Well, that's just because we're a soft target. We have a lot of open space here in Baltimore County, and I think what the most important thing I want to say is that decades of county work and millions of dollars spent preserving farmland should not be jeopardized by rushing to cover farmland with a commercial solar field. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Glenn Ellsrode, followed by Wayne McGinnis.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you all very much.
appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. First off, I'd just like to a little bit about myself. I believe in ag preservation. I have no problem in trying to protect the land. I think of the people that are here, we have a large number, we have 500 and some acres of farmland. Most of it is in ag preservation. There are some small parcels of land that were not in preservation. And I actually met the company that is interested in putting the solar project on our farm at Towson University. They were putting the solar panels on the roofs of some of the buildings down there in the parking lot. They are a local company, and I think they worked very hard to try to meet a lot of the needs of the people. There are some people, I'm sure, would object to that or feel a little bit differently. Change is something that we're all concerned about because we don't know about it until after it's happened. On these farms, I'm the fourth generation farmer on the farm where I am, and I have a son and grandchildren that are also most likely going to live on some of those properties. Farming is a little bit difficult, although I'm not as active in farming now as what it was. We used to raise cattle and do all those things. I rent. But the income the farmer makes has an influence on what the rent is. And I want to say this about prime and productive soil. We have a farm that's all prime and productive soil, but there are areas on that are off the road and small parcels where the deer just destroy the crops. And I will actually give you some mapping showing from the combine showing what the production is in those fields. And there are some of them where we produce 250, 260 bushel of corn, and there are others where we produce less than 100, and it doesn't even pay for the seed.
Thank you. Thank you. Wayne McGinnis, followed by Lynn Jones.
Good afternoon, my chairman and council members. For 50 years, Baltimore County has been protecting R.C. Jones a high priority, and they've been the envy of the country in their preserving of farmland. Recently, you referred to the planning. I'm also, in my 20 years on the planning board, I have never seen a larger outpouring of concern against the bill that it was passed in its present form. The planning board formed a group to study this, and it consists of 7 industry people and 1 part-time farmer on that panel. So when it came before the planning board, we had the largest outpouring of people, concerned people of the subject, and overwhelming majority were in favor of a moratorium and against putting the solar facilities on prime farmland. The planning board itself was unanimous in their concern about the use of solar facilities on prime and productive farmland. The testimonies and correspondence on this subject have been overwhelming against this practice. Now, a majority of the early persons who applied for these facilities were not farmers. They were farm owners who leased their ground to farmers, and the people being hurt were the actual farmers. Now, some also have not, we have a very renowned ag preservation program in the county, and many of these farmers had not put their land in preservation where they could have preserve their land. And if you can't make money on soybeans, then raise something else. I'm a fifth generation farmer since 1881, and each generation has had to make changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service, Glenn.
Lynn Jones, followed by Tim Fallis, F-A-L-E-S. Fallis?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, hi, I'm Lynn Jones. I'm president of the Sparks Glencoe Community Planning Council, which supports green energy, protection of the environment, and agricultural lands. I also have a unique perspective. I'm the 7th generation on our 280-year-old farm, which is preserved. My taxes and insurance are paid with income from my field, and I work to pay the other bills that I have. So far, there are only 2 solar cases in the North County who are worked and owned by farmers. The rest are removed from other farmers who lease them. The investments of our communities are great. Multiple lawyers, expert witnesses, time taken off of work is very real and very expensive. There are people who say this is completely a NIMBY project. It is not. It's about climate change and it's about food security. We see this moratorium and study as a way to protect prime and productive soils which deserve the highest amount of protection. There are plenty of non-prime soils in the county. If you see on your map, there are red and green areas on the front. The red areas are not prime and productive soils. The green and blue areas are prime and productive soils. The sites that are in litigation have mostly the green areas, mostly prime and productive, but there are red areas on these particular farms also. Why can't these solar panels be moved to the red area that is not prime and productive? Development is chipping away at our agricultural land. We need to address the efficiency of the panels because this also addresses the amount of land taken out of food production.
Thank you.
I have more to say, but
Appreciate it. Our next speaker, Timothy Fels, followed by Alexandra Wyatt. Alexandra Wyatt is our last speaker for the evening.
I want to thank the county for an opportunity to talk today. We've had this conversation before, but it's going to be slightly different. The context has changed a little bit since we've had some legislation passed. One of the things that I find is really unique about this is that there's this false division. I think a lot of people came here, support local solar as if there was somebody opposing solar. I haven't heard not one person oppose solar. What we're saying is, why don't we look at how we're doing it? Part of the problem we have here is we've done a great job in this state or in this county, especially in the northern part of the county, preserving our county. Spent tremendous amount of money doing it. And now we seem to be rushing to undo what we've done. As far as, clustering all this into commercial and industrial areas, well, if it's zoned commercial and industrial, what exactly did you think might happen in a commercial or industrial environment? It's certainly different than what people thought when they live in an RC district. They had a certain expectation that was different, and they bought their properties accordingly, even the farmers that own it. Now, a lot of these farmers that we hear talking today, they do deserve consideration. They're talking about, this could save their farm. Well, there's something the council can do too. You can ease their tax burden. Why don't we discuss that as a possibility rather than using solar development to be the sole solution to their particular economic challenges? Because I want you to know, this is not a victimless activity. The people that are going to be living close to this, and it's not just someplace out in the woods, out in the middle of nowhere. There are houses, there are communities that these things are going into. They're going to take a financial hit. I've done the homework on this. I've had their appraisals done. It costs tens of thousands of dollars to the contiguous property homeowners. Think about it.
Thank you. And our last speaker for today, for this evening, is Alexandra Wyatt.
Hi, thanks to everyone who's still here. I work for Grid Alternatives Mid-Atlantic, which is a nonprofit solar installer working and employing folks in Maryland and Baltimore County. We're focused on making sure our energy transition benefits everyone, especially lower income folks that we serve, with energy savings, jobs, and a livable environment. We actually mostly do rooftop, but we're getting more into community solar because it's the only way to reach so many of our target solar customers who might be renters, for example. And we're actually not participating in the particular state pilot community solar program that's been at issue here, but we are supportive of that and hope that that pilot program leads to more, and that action by the county doesn't undercut that important state initiative. So I oppose the moratorium for a few reasons. Most of all, everything rides on getting to clean energy fast enough to avoid the worst climate breakdown tipping points. So given, there's a lot of science there, I don't have time to cite it. Given that reality, should we put solar where it's most economical right now? I mean, basically, yes. Can solar be done somewhere else? Yes, but basically the moratorium is saying we should do it later. We should do less of it, and we should do it in ways that don't as readily benefit low-income folks. We want solar on those other places that have been mentioned too, rooftops and carports and landfills, but we just really don't want reversal on these ongoing projects either. That would just send the completely wrong message to other jurisdictions, to solar companies that would otherwise want to invest in the county and hire its residents in this really excellent growing industry. The biggest threat to land and agriculture and rural life is climate change. So just to preserve land, we do need to make this energy transition as fast as possible. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Well, I'd like to just thank everybody for your patience and passion on both sides, but very respectful and very professional. I appreciate that. This was a long meeting, but thank you all for coming out to speak and exercise your fundamental right for democracy, and I wish you all safe travels home. Thanks so much.